a Selectmen's meeting. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. It will be broadcast live on Channel 9, and it will be replayed on Channel 9 as well as placed on YouTube in perpetuity for your viewing pleasure. And at this time, I ask that everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and please remain standing after. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to mention the passing of Agnes Del Signore from Rehoboth and Virginia Sears from Dayton. Agnes Del Signore was the head cook at Dayton Rehoboth for over 25 years when the high school opened up. Agnes Dias Del Signore was well known in both communities and was probably one of the nicest people that I ever met that worked at the school for all of those years. She loved cooking, she enjoyed many activities, and she enjoyed being with her family. So in memory of Mrs. Del Signore and Mrs. Sears, I ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And our condolences, as always, to their friends and family. And at this time, we have public input, as is customary. Do we have any public input this evening?
Yes, I do, but please go for me.
Mrs. Ferry.
Hey,
Hello.
I'm here to talk about bears.
Beargate.
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 We had a sighting in town on somebody's surveillance camera. More than likely that bear's not here anymore, but what we need to know is not to panic. We don't all need to know where it is or anything like that. What we need to know is we need to prevent them from coming back to the same place, and that is to secure all your food sources, which would be trash, bird feeders. If you put out food for cats outside or dogs outside, that should come in. Should come in anyways, because it's about that time of year that wildlife's going to be out doing their thing anyways. But I got a letter from Fisheries and Wildlife. They're coming this way. They're finding some on the Cape. So it's going to be maybe a regular occurrence that we might see them. Don't approach them. If you do see them, please call Mass Wildlife, because they like to know where they are, because they do follow some of them. I will put Mass Wildlife's number up on my shelter page so everybody will know who to call. If it's an immediate danger, please call the police department. The police department and myself will get a hold of the EPO, Fisheries and Wildlife, to have them come down here as soon as possible. The second thing, I had a call this past week at a facility in our town. Doesn't need to know why we were there, but somebody had padlocked a barn, so I could not get in there. It wasn't so I couldn't get in there, they were trying to keep somebody else out. This is very disturbing to me, because if something was to happen in that barn, nobody on that property had a key, and I wouldn't have been able to get in there, or the fire department wouldn't have been able to get in there. So if you own a barn, whether you're trying to keep other people out, if you do put a lock on that door, please make sure somebody on the property has it. We had to cut the bolt so we could get in, so I could check out the welfare of the horse because of what was going on. So please, please, please do not lock your barns if at all possible. I came in contact with that one other time when I went to inspect, and it wasn't because she was trying to keep anybody out. It was just that it was a normal occurrence for her to lock the door when she left. They had outside runs, so I could look at the horses, and we could have gotten a hold of the horse. This facility, I couldn't have gotten a hold of the horse without that place burning down. So please, please, please do not lock your barns. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, Ms. Quinn, I just wanted to make a statement, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, and we obviously did not coordinate this, but I did want to express a little bit of concern for certain things that I had seen posted on social media regarding the bear sighting, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I do want to say we are lucky to have our animal control officer. I think she does a lot with a little. I think that's an objective analysis, so I would ask everybody, I know we're public officials, we are allowed to be scrutinized, we're supposed to be scrutinized, but I wish everybody would understand that she has a difficult job. In a lot of ways, she is a one-woman show, and I think we should all be aware of that, understanding of that, and thankful for the service that she does, so I did want to say that. Okay. Ms. Quinn? Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, Leah Quinn, 758 Council Oak Way in Dayton. I'm here today because I would like to respond to Mrs. Goulart's Facebook response to the recall petition that we had started back in November. I will be honest and say thank you for responding. However, I am very concerned about the statements that have been made on your behalf for the allegations that were a part of that recall. Number one, I just want to say, first of all, this recall was initiated by me. I was the petitioner. I signed the affidavit. I am also a notary public in the state of Massachusetts. I have been one for about 18 years. I have worked for law offices, real estate attorneys, and private law firms. So let me tell you that when I read that you are insinuating that anyone who signed this petition was not aware of what they were signing, or that they were told to sign it without reading, that is a lie. That is something that I actually take very seriously because of my oath of office as a notary public. That never happened. If those individuals came forward directly to you and said that that happened, I would ask them publicly tonight to come forward to me and please file a grievance. Or if someone on behalf that was going door to door, such as Nelson DeMello, Laurie DeMello, Rachel Conti, that I know that that was happening. That is illegal. That's not the campaign that we were running. And I will go on record very clearly, again, to your face. I never defamed you. I never said a bad word about you, your behavior. I simply,
I take strong exception. Oath of office.
Excuse me, let me finish.
Oath of office. No,
Public input?
you've had more than enough time.
No, she hasn't.
Meeting
She's-
after meeting after meeting.
Please.
Public input.
Am I going to have
Yes,
equal time?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's about time.
I'm glad you said that, Selectman Goulart.
So-
I'm actually surprised. I just wanted to say, Ms. Quinn, I'm actually a little surprised we're here talking about this, because I thought that that night, after the recall had been quote-unquote decided, we were all gonna move on and it was a new beginning. So I'm actually unclear why we're even here. I didn't know there was a Facebook post, so.
Well, I didn't know. I was informed by other members of social media because I have been blocked from access to your account per your admin who told me that. I cannot comment, access it, anything. So again, it was me who filed it. I was the one who recorded the affidavit with all of the information attached to it. Sue Medeiros, our town clerk, just confirmed with me. I have the original copy that was filed back in November. I have a hard time accepting that there is anything missing from what you have gotten copies of. I also, if you want to say that I have defamed you or berated you in any way publicly, please. That was never said to me the night that I asked you for some self-awareness or to really dig deep as a board and do better. I am absolutely floored by every single article that was in that affidavit. You defend your behavior. That's hard for me, and I don't believe that I could be the only resident in this town that that could be hard for. To just say people come up to me and tell me that this happened, I'm sorry. That was part of why I recalled you, because an anonymous letter
You
was read.
attempted to.
I'm sorry, I attempted to recall you. That was exactly the behavior of why I attempted to recall you. Because anonymous letters were being read. You said that it was mailed now to the Board of Selectmen's office, that letter. I thought it was left at Old Town Hall. I'm having a lot of trouble with following the consistent story. If the letter was mailed to the Board of Selectmen, and I'm talking about the March 15th, 2017 anonymous letter disparaging Selectman Zografis, and at the time, Jack Taylor, who was running for the Board of Selectmen's office with the traffic, and I believe former police officer Ed Dutra was also involved. That anonymous letter was read. In that meeting, you said it was left at Old Town Hall. On your Facebook post, it says the letter was mailed to the Selectmen's office. If a letter was mailed to the Selectmen's office and then read during a public meeting, how come that letter was not then turned over to either Mrs. Brady, at the time we did not have a town administrator, to be recorded into public record? That letter, and I will tell you, because obviously there's no secrets here, I asked for a public records request. It's missing. It does not belong, it's not here. It's not in this building. I then emailed Selectman Zografis and said, Brett, do you have a copy of this letter as you attended that meeting? I also emailed Jack Taylor for a copy. Brett had one. That is where I got the copy of this letter that was read, that was not recorded, that is not part of public record. I have the copy of it right here, as I'm sure you do, and maybe Jack Taylor does. I don't know. However, was it left at Old Town Hall? Was it mailed? Where did it go from that meeting? I come to these meetings, I see you all sign off, I see packets being handed over. How does that just disappear? That's concerning to me as a resident. When that information was said to me by town clerk, that concerned me. So that letter is missing. Okay, well, here we are again. You are now incorporating more anonymous reports of residents, town employees, and, you know, I really hate to do this, but yes, there were articles in here of emails, and Mrs. Brady, I would like to say to you, to your face, that email that was given to me with your heading on it, I apologize wholeheartedly if that caused you any mental distress. However, when you are in public office and you request these documents, this is part of the job. I in no way ever tried to make you part of, I don't even know what you would call it. It was simply a document that alarmed me. It would alarm, I would hope, a lot of residents that was a post-it on that. And who directed you to send that email? Why are we not allowed to ask those questions? And instead, your response is that I caused her mental distress or distress because I attached it to
said mental distress.
Okay, distress, I'm sorry. If I caused you any distress, Mrs. Brady, I want you to know that I am sorry for that. However, I have had plenty of interactions with Mrs. Brady requesting public records, and we have not ever had a conversation pertaining that I caused her that. So I just, again, want to be clear. I am very sorry if that public document caused you that. Lastly, I'm challenged with the contract with the police chief not getting to you. You've stated during several meetings that you don't have access to your town email. Why? Why don't we have access? Why does an elected official not have access to her town email? And if it's been going on for more than 2 or 3 weeks, I can see like IT coming and fixing that. How long has this been? How long has it been going on? Why is this okay? Why are we just kind of like waiting it out, waiting for it to get better? I know that there's responsibility being an adult, that you take care of those things. However, if this is like on a server for the town hall, then I would think it's an easy fix. You stated you did not see that contract until that day before the meeting. Is that true? I was at that meeting. I don't want to put you on the spot, but like I just feel like I was at that meeting. Mallory, Brett, Ken, they said that's not true. Jack Taylor was copied on those emails regarding that contract. Why is there no accountability? This is not me pointing a finger at you. It's, do you really just not see that you could make an error or behave badly? I know I have. I know I've made errors in my life. I take accountability for that. But I will say to your face, for you to think that I have ever left this building and gone door to door and defamed you in any way, you are grossly mistaken. That's not who I am, and that's not what I do. We have mutual friends, Mrs. Goulart. My husband is very well-liked in town and has many mutual friends with some of your closest friends. I do not conduct myself that way. And I find your response, number one, I was the one who pulled it. So why did you not even send me an email? You have my email. You do it on Facebook when you say you never use Facebook.
This is laughable.
It is laughable.
Yes, it is.
On behalf of your own behavior, ma'am, it is. You pick and choose how you want to respond to people who elect you. I mean, it's not laughable to me. I was the one who attempted to recall you. And you took that information and sat on it since November 15th.
Not true.
Town clerk just gave me a copy of the affidavit. Received October 11th.
Correct.
Recorded that day.
Correct.
With a copy attached.
Correct.
You've had since October 11th to review this.
Incorrect.
Here is a copy of the recall petition. Received November 14th.
Correct.
Okay, so since November 14th then. Today is what, March 15th? And you choose to respond publicly on a social media page. When you yourself have sat here and asked other board members to not go on social media to conduct town business.
I haven't done that.
Okay.
I don't put any
Sure.
prohibitions on my colleagues in social media. That's incorrect.
Okay. I would like to know how long you have not had access to your email. If
Since
you
it
are,
was, pretty much since it was set up.
so what's the time frame? Does anyone know? I would love, I mean, we're paying for IT, the town is paying for this stuff.
I have email. I don't use the town of Dayton address because it has not worked properly. I've had trouble accessing it. I have two different email accounts. One of them's personal and one is Comcast.net. That's where I get all my town stuff.
Including contracts.
The police chief's contract was not on Comcast.net.
So who is in charge of emailing those contracts to the Board of Selectmen?
When I got it, I got a hard copy.
When? The day before?
I had it
you were
in
gonna
time for
ratify
the
it?
meeting that night.
So,
That's why I asked for extra time.
and I know some of this is executive session stuff. However,
I'm in charge of providing it. I believe that I did provide it electronically to the ngoular.comcast.net. We, as a matter of practice, since I joined the town of Dayton, they didn't do packets before. That's something I brought in. So we now have a process where we send it out the night before for them to review either the night before or through the day on Wednesday, so they have adequate. That's our process. To answer your first question.
okay, so you never got it.
I got it the night that we had it. That's why I asked for extra time,
So that's,
which I got.
so when we,
But it was emailed the night before. When someone checks it is when someone sees the email and checks it.
so what I guess I'm trying to say is, at those meetings that we were at prior to this, I believe Ken and you, and also Mallory had suggested that Jack Taylor was a part of that at one point too, of seeing those contracts as they became, you know, as you negotiated, they get reviewed and altered. So, how are we not prepared the day before we're set to ratify a contract?
We were prepared. I mean, I was prepared. I'll speak for myself. I mean, we always get the packet materials the night before. I prefer to review them electronically, so I do review them the night before. So if someone's busy, you know, sometimes I do review it 2-3 hours before the meeting. It just depends what my personal schedule is like. Those materials are always sent to us the night before. The agenda is sent to us Monday evening. The packet is sent Tuesday. That's been that way since we passed that policy months ago, when Selectman Taylor was still here.
With this meeting, when we first got the contract, I believe Mrs. Goulart gave us a paper from the Department of Revenue
Correct.
that we're not privy to.
That was not in the
It
packet.
was not in the packet. We now have a policy, unless we have it in our packet.
Right, I was at that
We are
meeting.
not going to address anything. So we did not have that, and that's the reason why I seconded the motion. I believe you made the motion. I seconded to continue that contract to our next meeting.
Well, a lot of
I
the,
then apologized to the chief.
right,
because
I was there, Ken,
we were
yes.
given some erroneous information that we've never signed it through.
And I also apologize to the chief.
At the following meeting, I know, I was there. I'm not
We
discounting
voted
that
on
you
it
didn't,
the night we voted on it.
which was the following week.
Exactly.
My frustration is, why is there a lack of accountability? This is not discounting your level of intelligence, ma'am, or the great things you have done for this town. But no one walks on water, no one is perfect. Every single response that you gave was defending the behavior. And then, actually, going right back to behaviors that were mentioned, which is bringing anonymous people in, town employees who have said this. If people are willing to make statements to support you, I absolutely support that, as would any registered voter. But why aren't they coming forward? And why do you feel the need to keep it anonymous? You know, I'm very sorry, Karen, that I did that, if that was an issue for you, but it's a public record. So I apologize, but why can't you?
Apologize.
Why can't you apologize?
I apologize to the police chief
You
for the
also-
delay.
Okay, that's
Now,
one apology.
you keep referring to that email. I was not given that, as I stated in my response.
What email?
The one you keep referring to.
It was all copied and given to town clerk.
It was not in the package I got, because when I got my first package, that was one of the reasons I didn't respond right away. I requested documents, and I got documents. I went through the petition and checked off the documents that you referenced that I had received. I made a second request and specifically listed the documents that you listed that I didn't have. And I got written responses that what I had been given was all there was. So obviously, when I wrote my response,
So how did
I couldn't reference them.
So how did I get them, but you, the Board of Selectmen, can't get the same copies? I'm just having a hard time here.
I went to the
The
custodian
only
of the
thing that is
records.
not in public record here that I have in my possession is the copy of that anonymous letter. That's it. Everything else is here. So, again, I'm not here to drag this out, but I am not gonna have you make claims based on hearsay again, that people were signing things they didn't know, not given the opportunity to read the affidavit, and asked by their friends to sign just because they're friends. That's just a lie. And I take how we ran this and did this very personally, because we had a lot of good people invested, honestly, not for the wrong reasons. So to make that allegation, again, I am a notary public in the state of Massachusetts. I don't tread lightly on that. I don't coerce people into signing things unless they know what they are signing.
I was also a notary
Great.
until I retired.
So,
So
I
I
mean,
understand that.
so why are we making statements like that then? And if you do believe that that happened, I would like you to tell me who these people that came forward.
Absolutely not, because they are not going to be treated the way that you have addressed me in the past. Now, relative to this whole mess, and I am not going to take almost 20 minutes. The reason why I didn't instantly respond is because I was waiting for documents, all right? I was assured that everything that was available to me, I had gotten. Once I got that, I started to put it together. I decided that what I would do in the response and what got posted on Facebook, if anyone's interested, I'm not on Facebook as a person. Somebody manages the page, and when I write up a meeting, I send it to him and he posts it, period. I don't go on Facebook and read comments on other people's Facebook. The fact of the matter is, people kept saying to me, when are you going to respond?
Why did you ask your admin to block me from commenting on your page then? Because if you don't read them, he told me. I was asked to block you and your husband.
I have given,
How have I berated you in any way publicly?
well, I think the comment about the oath of office, that was pretty low.
then you know what?
Getting back to, it's
a-
my turn now. Getting
No,
back
it's
to the
not. And the way-
situation at
Actually, this
hand.
is public input.
What I said was, yeah, but I don't want to tie this committee up for 20 minutes. I'm trying to get this done in less than 5.
With a resident's concern, you don't want to tie this committee up.
We're gonna let Mrs. Goulart speak.
Yeah, I
and
just want to hear her response, and then of
Mrs.
course
Quinn,
you
you're gonna
will get
get
a
to
chance
respond.
to respond,
Yeah.
exactly.
The reason I have never released the names of people, if anyone wants to read it, go to Nancy Goulart Facebook. I explained exactly the methodology I used when the letter came in, first of all, when the complaints came in about the episode at the corner and the anonymous letter came in, whether it came into Town Hall, Old Town Hall, or this Town Hall, whether it was mailed or dropped off. I knew about it when it came into this building, however it got here. I thought it had been mailed. If it was hand-carried, all I know is it came in here. The factual comments that were made to me that turned out to be truly factual were made the day of the incident. When the letter came in, I looked at the two of them. The comments that had made and the letter, they matched. Now, because the letter's anonymous, I don't know if the person who wrote the letter was one of the people who had complained. But I had documentation that matched. If they had not matched, then I wouldn't have brought it up. When you do investigative or compliance auditing, you have to check the facts. You have to make sure you have corroboration. You have to have proof. Those documents matched. And if anyone wants to read that, what I did was take the recall petition, and I typed each section that was in the petition, and I responded to the various sections. I didn't go on and on and on, because quite frankly, I've moved on, okay? The recall didn't happen. People have been very supportive, people have been very kind, but there were people who kept saying, you need to respond. Why haven't you responded? We want to know what your side of the story is. I tried to make it as brief as possible. I did mention in there about the police chief. I did mention in there that I did apologize. And I've also talked about the other issues that were in there. As far as I'm concerned, the matter is closed. I'm going to continue to do the job to the best of my ability. And when you talk about me not talking to you, that's what I said was laughable, because you and I never spoke until the night you came in here, and the petition was already in the works.
That's not true.
If you were that
We have emailed
concerned,
before that, actually.
if you were that concerned, it could have come up at a meeting here.
That's not true, Mrs. Goulart. I had emailed you to your Comcast.net email, and you responded. So you had every way to
Okay,
get in
I'm
touch
talking
with me.
Facebook.
I have commented back when you have responded on Facebook, very politely.
The reason
Never-
why anyone
if-
who's
if-
been blocked, quite frankly, my Facebook page is really only to get information out to residents.
Okay,
who
I'm
wanna
a
read it,
resident.
which is write up selectmen's meetings. If an issue comes up that a lot of people are concerned about, instead of just responding to one person, I would probably put something that says, a number of people have asked about, and then I explain it. It's there. I am not going to spend my time responding to all the Facebook comments. And I said to the person that manages it, as far as I'm concerned, if you choose, you can block all responses. This is just a news thing I'm putting out there. People had said to me, you need to respond. We want to hear your side of the story. I said, okay. What I posted, what he posted for me, what I wrote in response to each of the sections of the recall petition are based on factual events or documents or the lack of documents. So,
I actually
I'm
have
done.
2 things to say, and I wasn't planning on saying anything. But the specter was raised. So I've never really said anything about the anonymous letter, and I think I said the night of that meeting that I thought it was a sham and it was beneath the dignity of the office we hold, and I actually still feel that way today. I do find it curious, Selectman Goulart, and you can respond to this if you'd like, but since this has been raised, let's have at it. Corroboration and facts. You didn't even know that the letter was posted to the back of a building that wasn't even being used at that time. Who thinks that that's credible? It's anonymous.
Credibility.
Posted to, it's probably, truth be told, I've always thought it was someone on the Board of Selectmen that wrote the letter, because it was someone on the Board of Selectmen who found the letter. Coincidence? I think not. The other issue is, you said the issue is closed. You said the same thing 2 months ago. Why are we here again discussing it? You knew that posting it, and I know when I do this, I get blowback. When you post on Facebook, you gotta be prepared to answer the tough questions and to deal with the blowback. You had to have known, because you are one of the smartest people I've ever met. Shocker, right? She is. You knew that that was gonna prompt a response. So we can't sit here and be disingenuous and act like we're clutching our pearls and we're so shocked and dismayed that the person who did the recall came in. We know this.
I'm not shocked and dismayed, and I expected a response. What I said was, I told the person who posts the page, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to, you can block everybody, because I am not going to go on Facebook. If anyone wants to speak to me, whether it's Hannaford's, the church, the library, the post office, I have no problem with it. And quite frankly, whether they speak to me in person, send me an email on my Comcast address, or call me up, I prefer that to Facebook. I really prefer that to Facebook. If the true situation, when you came the second time and you read your speech that night, okay, I think the town has been very fair with you as far as you came in after the recall failed and you read a long speech about the whole situation. And I didn't respond to that.
I thought you did, and it was fine. You know, I thought
That was the night
the
I said we've
conversation-
never talked. That
We
was the night I
haven't, but we
said to
have
you.
emailed. I don't have time to come in here on your hours,
But you've been here.
but we have emailed before that. So you did have access to my email.
But the fact of the matter is, I get emails from a lot of people, so I try to respond to I'm not talking Facebook, I'm talking
Right,
Comcast
right.
email. I try to respond to everybody, okay? Sometimes I get communication that I don't see the need to respond to, okay?
Okay. But I would just think that if you have asked the person who initiated this recall to be blocked from being able to comment to your Facebook page, which your admin has confirmed with me happened, then I would hope that you would have at least, how am I supposed to get your response otherwise? I get it from 26 people on Facebook forwarding it to me. So I'm just having a tough time understanding, if you don't use Facebook to communicate and you don't have access to your Town of Dayton email, how are residents supposed to voice their concerns to you? Come to the selectmen's meeting only, or find you during office hours?
Call me up. I don't have office hours. 24/7, they can get in touch with me. I don't have office
So
hours.
you prefer just phone calls?
It can be phone call. They can stop me wherever they see me publicly. Somebody stopped me at Hannaford yesterday about the bear, as a matter of fact, the bear we talked about tonight. Wherever they see me. So, telephone call, Comcast.net, which is my email thing, and in person. Actually prefer those, any of those.
Can I ask what we're doing to get the Town of Dayton email address workable for our 3 Board of Selectmen?
I thought we actually reset
We've got a new service,
We've
haven't we?
reset the password with Terminal Exchange, and then
Multiple
I think
times.
you had said it still didn't work, and then
Yeah,
we were
because
just
I tried
like,
it right here, several times. And then Karen tried it.
We have a
Town
lot of
administrator.
problems with our network. Just, there
is
it is.
why we are
I have worked for the last year to find a new person. I finally found him with the help of Sergeant Cronin, thank you very much. We found him, I wrote an agreement, I emailed it to him, he needs to send it back. We're still under Terminal Services right now, who I think does a deplorable job at handling what we need. We have commented on Selectman Goulart's and many other emails for townofdayton.com that just don't work. Yours is one of them, Stacy, yes.
Yeah, we just
They
had an
just
issue the other day.
magically don't work one day. They have to reset the password.
Passwords don't
Then we
work.
get the password, we put it in there, and that doesn't work either. So then we have to deal with a totally different person to reset the password again, tell our whole sob story over and over again to finally get it to work. I think there might be a little bit of a lag time by the time that Selectman Goulart does come in here, like maybe it's a temporary password only works for however many hours and then we have to do it again. So I think there's a little bit of that. We have all kind of trained ourselves to use ngoulart@comcast.net. I just have to say this, and I'm sorry, Selectman Goulart, but I did email you ngoulart@comcast.net. Whether it got stuck somewhere, I don't know that,
Or
but
she was
I
just
did,
busy and
right,
didn't
that
get
it
to it
just,
that night.
sometimes
That's
that
what I'm
happens.
saying. It
I
happens.
take my job very seriously. I want the board to be, hence this, all of this paper. I don't like paper, but we need it because I need them to be prepared and I need them to know what we're talking about. And I work very hard at preparing myself for an agenda, preparing myself for a meeting, same with Mrs. Brady, and we do what we can to prepare them so that they can make the decision perfect for the town of Dayton. So I did what I could to send that. When we originally sent it, we had a different member on the board. We were also undergoing police union contract negotiations for the whole union. The decision was to hold onto the chief's contract to get the police union contracts because the two were a little bit related. So we waited. There was a lot of stuff going on in the town of Dayton during the same period, and the union contracts got delayed as well. So I can understand where it did get lost in the shuffle in Mrs. Goulart's email. Police union contract, chief contract, all running together. So I can understand that. But as a matter of practice, we do email the ngoular@comcast.net email right now. We're not really too worried about getting her email set up with townofdayton.com because of the madness that ensues when we do reach out to Terminal on any other
And we're
situation.
changing it.
We're
We're
getting a
working
new
on
one.
that. We're working on that. We are bringing our email in-house so we no longer have to deal with this
Right.
crap. Excuse me.
But can you understand from a townsperson the concern that you can't access town email? And that maybe with personal email or the
No,
Comcast.
because
Can I just finish?
Everybody who knows me, I don't think I've missed a lot of emails.
Except for the contract.
That contract,
Right,
but-
but that's my point. Do you see how that could be, maybe you haven't missed a lot, but the one that you did miss was a contract one. So could you understand that that would be concerning to townspeople?
no,
How
because there
many
was no
other-
harm to the chief.
I'm telling you, it is concerning for the townspeople.
There was no harm to the chief.
But
You
because you
mentioned
feel
due
there was no harm
diligence.
to the chief, you're dismissing our concerns
Your concerns.
and the 785 people who signed. Yes.
I don't buy that. You ask about when I get
We're
paid
gonna
this.
cut this off. We had a seven.
Yeah, but can I
Yeah,
speak?
of course.
I
No,
just want to say,
absolutely,
the
but we need to
package I
wrap
have
up.
in my hand right now, I got tonight when I came through the door. The reason is because when I was around yesterday, it wasn't ready. I checked again to see if it was ready. It wasn't ready.
What package?
By the package in front of me tonight.
Like for tonight's meeting?
meeting.
Okay.
The reason I didn't get it until today is because last night, when I shut the computer down at 11:45, I was too tired to go through the rest of the email.
Sure.
I was in Boston this morning, didn't get back in town till after 4 o'clock, okay? Just about had time to get something to eat and head out. So, I have a good idea what's in here, because I got the agenda first. I didn't have the backup, so I scanned it quickly, because I had sent an email to question where something was. Other than that, okay, tonight I'm gonna go through this, okay? Because of the workload I'm carrying, I don't have the kind of time to do all these things.
Then why are you in public service? This is a
Excuse me?
job that you opted to do. If you don't have the time to get to all this, then why did you run?
You don't understand. This selectman has the largest workload of this entire board because of the representation that I have, that I accepted to represent this town outside of this town. It's important. It means money to this town. Some of those appointments have been over 12, as a matter of fact, the one meeting I was at today is over 12 years I have represented this town at that organization. And that has brought a lot of money to this town.
Okay, great, thank you. I appreciate
But
that.
I've got to keep up with all of those. I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 that I've got to
So
take care of.
I'm trying to understand that. If residents have concern and you have time restraints and this workload, where are we supposed to?
I've already told you, residents can contact me at any time. I don't hold office hours because they can contact me at home.
My last comment, and I'll go away. You had made a statement that, had said that I felt that our town administrator has been verbally attacked by you. Now, everyone's definition of what verbal attacks are could be different. Maybe you don't feel like that behavior on tape is attacking. You also wrote in your response that you did not review her as an attack, but it was because she had lack of experience and...
We were talking about procurement.
Lack of your opinion was based on her lack of qualifications and experiences that were submitted as part of her credentials. Didn't you all hire her?
Regarding procurement,
Wasn't that part of her contract?
That was.
So now she's not qualified. That's my point. How do you hire someone with that being part of her contract?
Because she was going to do it.
And then say she's not qualified?
Because she was going to do it. Before you leave, or could I have copies of the documents that I was not given when I requested the public documents?
I'll make copies for you right now.
So if I could just make a comment.
Yeah, and then we're gonna move on. We had a 7:30 Dayton Trails. Please tell me the Dayton Trails are still here.
Right here,
And Parks and
yes.
Rec is still here. Okay, thank you. One second.
So if you don't mind remaining there, I got hired by the townspeople June 28th. I had my email within a week, had access to it. There was an error with the password. I had Karen, thanks to Karen, it's fixed right away. And I get my email all the time. I check it all the time. So people have ways of getting a hold of me. I'm disappointed that you don't have access to it. And I think that really needs to be resolved. I've heard this numerous
No,
times.
I do. It's Comcast. They can get me at
No, he means
Comcast.
the
The
town of
the
Dayton.
town
That's
email.
not, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have access to that. I have to say, I was disappointed to read on Facebook today, the comments that you made. I thought we had put this to bed. Now, I clearly was active in the recall movement. You've never made a comment to me. I appreciated that. You never once talked poorly to me anyway.
We have to
about-
work together.
We have to work, no, I agree. I'm just saying I was impressed with that. But I was active with the recall. I had people sign the petition. People read the petition. I was present many times when you and other people were having people sign it. I don't know of anybody who would sign a petition without reading it, without knowing what's on the petition. So I was disappointed that you came out with that.
I was
comment.
disappointed when I was told
I
that.
was disappointed when you read that letter. I was a member, I was watching it at home. You read the letter, anonymous letter, apparently you don't know where it came from, about people holding signs for Jack Taylor. I was one of those holding those signs. We did not stop traffic. We did not cause an accident with the bus. I did see a police officer there, Ed Dutra was there. He didn't see any problem there.
No, when he stopped a car, that was the
He stopped, right,
miscommunication.
right.
Someone was speeding or went through a light.
But since I've been on the board, I've asked that we not read anonymous
Somebody
letters.
has to
I
screw
am
us.
disappointed, people have to sign, have the guts to sign their name. And if there's an employee in this building here or an employee of this town who is affected by that and made comments to Ms. Goulart, they ought to come forward. There are not gonna be any repercussions. They need to come forward. And if there's anybody that's going up to her, church or whatever, they can come before the board, as you have the guts to do, and express your opinion. So, quite frankly, I thought we had put this to bed. I was very disappointed when I read that.
Did you read the last letter?
I read the whole.
And do you remember what it said?
I know I don't remember what it said, but I read the long Facebook statement that you had, that you don't go on Facebook, but yet you posted on Facebook those comments which I was offended by, because I was one of those standing out there, but it was put to bed. We did not get the signatures. Am I disappointing? Yes. We did not get the signatures. We were short maybe, 30, 35 signatures. It came very close. It didn't pass. I moved on. I thought you moved on, and I was very
I've
disappointed.
moved on.
I don't think, when you
I haven't missed a beat.
posted that today, that's telling me
I
and
think
telling
what-
people in town that you have not moved on. You have not put this to bed.
I think
So-
what you're disappointed with is the fact that I didn't sit here with my hands folded through another meeting and listen to all of this blah, 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 blah about all of this stuff. If you read and follow the sequence of events that I talked about and the methodology I used, okay? The methodology I have used to do my job, I'm talking about my other job before I retired. I used the same methodology to test data. Does this corroborate?
Where does
Was
the
it
data come
standard?
from?
Okay?
You didn't know where it came from.
What I know is what I was told by eyewitnesses the day that that first incident
The people who
happened.
wrote the letter and put the
Detectives
letter at
asked
the
for
back of
witnesses,
town hall.
correct?
No,
Come on.
okay?
Detectives asked for
This is a clown
witnesses.
show.
This is not the police. We are not an investigative team. You
And
might
if
have been in
And
compliance,
if you are,
ma'am, but
you need to stop playing an
this is not,
investigator on daytime TV,
you know,
because you're
a
not working.
criminal murder
We need a
scene
new
that we're
methodology.
investigating here. It's simple. What's,
Oh, someone gave me a letter, I'm gonna read it.
And-
Someone told me this, I'm gonna repeat
and did
it.
it come in the mail, or was it found at Old Town
Well,
Hall?
it was
There is
taped.
lots of
was taped
inconsistencies
to a
with these
vacant building.
stories. So why did you say it was mailed?
She
I
probably
don't know
doesn't
how
know,
it
she
came
still doesn't know!
that was
Come
mailed.
on! She still doesn't know where it came
into
from.
the selectmen's, I saw it in the selectmen's office, where it was left or how it got to the selectmen's office. When I say selectmen's office, I'm talking next door. I don't know. I don't know.
Which is why you
But it
don't-
did come
We
into
are
town.
so beyond the scope of what is going on here. I just have to say, we need to bring it
I
back.
think more than enough time has been spent.
I'm gonna make copies of these for you, Mrs. Goulart, and I'm also just gonna ask you publicly that to insinuate on a social media page as an elected official that people have come forward to you and have been signed this petition without their knowledge, or didn't know what they signed when they read it, that is absolutely slanderous. I am a notary public, and I'm gonna ask you to take those statements down. It's your choice to do that or not, but that is not the campaign that we rolled out when we did this. I have never defamed you in any way.
How about the oath of office?
In my opinion, you absolutely breached
Your
the-
opinion.
Yes, and I have a right to recall you.
It's time to move on.
We are gonna move on, and I thank you, Mrs. Quinn. Thank you. Okay, to the Dayton Trails Committee, to the Parks and Recreation Commission, I apologize. We are back on track, a little late, but better late than never is what I say. And at this time, I would love to talk to the Dayton Trails Committee about the budget that was presented. I do appreciate the letter that you had sent to follow up the budget, to kind of explain what the requests are and where the funds are gonna go. And at this time, I would like to throw it over to you, Mrs. Conti, and you, if you'd like to, sorry, you're
Tag
40B
team it?
committee.
Yeah.
My brain. He keeps looking at me like I'm not on that committee, stop looking at me. Yes, yeah, if you'd like, Mrs.
Do you have
Conti.
questions for me, or what?
Actually, I'll just give like
Sure.
a quick recap. So we tried to do this on our own without you present, and we just had some follow-up questions. What they did come to was, with your explanation, there were some things that just can't be paid for through municipal funds. So Selectman Goulart did say, well, we need to reduce it by 100 because we can't use municipal funds to pay for things like refreshments.
Okay.
A lot of times, though, businesses could donate those if it's for like a specific event, so, you know, don't fear, but, thank you. That's when we sort of stalled our conversations and said that they were looking for a little bit more about what you were mailing out, the postcard thing, what exactly you were looking to do for marketing type stuff. And we had a conversation about utilizing the kids at Bristol Plymouth, because they do really great work, actually, and it's nice to showcase some of our students. We have a lot of students that go to that school, so it's nice to tap into that. And Dayton Rehoboth also has their own set of kids that do that as well for their program. So it's kind of fun for us to partner with our schools where we're regional. We don't get a lot of opportunities to do that. So that is what immediately came to my mind and what I share with the board.
I
That's
had,
all.
thank you, Madam Administrator, that was a good summary. My specific question, and as you know, we did do a mailer for the Green Communities Committee, and at that time, that mailer, the purpose was to explain the stretch code, also to invite people to a informational meeting about the warrant article we were gonna put on, so it was kind of, in that way, tied to town meeting. So I guess my main question, my one question before we all are allowed to get a word in, is the townwide mailing to invite all residents to an informational meeting, $700. Is the meeting, like, what is the purpose of that meeting? Is it just to tell people what the Trails Committee wants to do, the grants they want to seek, the trail that they want to create and connect?
I think a little bit about the budget was, you know, it was due now, and so maybe a little bit of it was premature and just sort of guessing. We're a new committee, and we're just thinking about what we might be doing in the next year. And having gone to a couple of different meetings in other, we went to Fairhaven to a meeting, we've been to UMass Dartmouth to a meeting, some folks went to Taunton to a meeting, and so just seeing what other people are doing and just anticipating that what might be happening. As far as the mailers, yeah, just getting out, you know, what the Dighton Trails is, what our goals is, what we have in mind, and would like to accomplish as far as the trails go, and yeah, have an informational meeting, have people attend the meeting, and we're still new about finding out about funding and how this is all gonna happen,
Sure,
and if it's gonna happen, but,
I guess I wasn't sure how, if the committee at that, when they sent in the request, had planned to go to the town meeting next year and put something on the warrant. I have no issue with a introductory mailer, because it is a new committee, just like Green Communities was.
yep.
So I have no issues. That was my one question.
So do you think it's possible, though, that we could put it on our website, you know, the informational meeting, and so the public knows it that way, so it's a little
Of cour-
cheaper for the townspeople?
Yeah, I have no issue.
You know,
And
it's a new committee. A lot
Yeah,
of people don't know about it, quite frankly.
right,
So I understand your need to get some information out, but I'm just wondering at the expense. As you know, it costs a few dollars to have that mail out to all the residents in town, so I'm a little concerned about that.
And that's
And-
why I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like some critical thing and, you know.
And we had talked, didn't we talk about putting this in the selectmen's budget? That
We
would-
did, but you wanted to hear from them, so we
Yeah,
haven't
sure.
talked, but, so what the Green Communities did is kind of had a line item nestled with the Board of Selectmen. So really, you just kind of come to us, and really it's Karen, it's not really me, but it's Karen, and she walks you through all of that, and it's
Okay.
just to house you a little bit. And then if you are successful and kind of grow and grow and grow, potentially you become your own budget. So there's that as well. That has worked in the past, because Green Communities was a smashing success, so.
So
And I know you will be too, because you're already getting a lot of work done, and I know that you will be too.
I wanted to comment, but I want Selectman Goulart to get the chance to ask her questions if she has one.
I agree with what Mr. Pacheco said relative to expenses for mailing. The Stormwater Committee has been charged, I should say, ordered by the EPA to really get information out as part of our education program. And what we have found has worked well, and we're doing the next round because we've got to do now businesses and industries and developers, and we're going to follow a similar track on a smaller scale. What we did for public education was we had brochures printed at BP, but then we've gone around to the businesses, even the post office, and say, may I leave informational brochures here? And the post office has been very good about allowing us to leave, you know, here's a stack of stormwater things. Businesses have all taken them. And I personally have attended, a year ago this month, we were at the STEAM Expo at DR, and there was the Conservation Commission chairman, there was the highway superintendent. I was there, and we had some high school volunteers all explaining what was going on, giving out brochures and bags. We've also done it at Cow Chip Festival and the Arts Festival. So I think it's good to have a handout, but I'm thinking if you put it on media somehow, and if it's available when we have our annual town meeting, you could have them out there as a handout. So I think you can get a lot of people without spending a lot of money, if you just want to get info out. Then if you're going to have a meeting notice, then you can do that through, whether it's through announcing it through our meetings or Facebook or however you do it. But I was thinking of this when Mr. Pacheco was talking. I was thinking about the campaign that we have done. We have not done a mailing because it is expensive, but we've reached out in all these other ways. So you might want to consider it, and we can help you. Stormwater, we can show you the kind of things we've done as far as informational programs and where we're going with the next round that we've got to do.
that sounds great to me, those are a lot of good ideas, going to the different events and getting people to know that way, so.
I don't
I'll
want
pass
the,
that-
oh, I'm sorry, Miss.
I'll pass that on, and I think those are good ideas, a good way to save.
We haven't spent a
that
lot of money,
expense.
I mean, per se.
Yeah.
And we did get a $2,000 grant, which was, that's a plus too.
Yeah,
So I don't want the Trails Committee to feel discouraged if my colleagues don't, and me, agree to the money set aside specifically for the mailer. But what I want to promise the Trails Committee is whenever, I know you have your own Facebook page, which is great. Green Communities Committee had that too. But if there's anything you want us to get out pursuant to what Selectman Pacheco had said, I'm happy to, when you have an informational meeting, that will be in an email that we send out to the 600 people on the mailing list. We'll put it on a Facebook page, the towns, in addition to the Trails Committee, and I'm happy to put it on the website as well.
Perfect.
So it will get the word out no matter what.
Yeah, that sounds
But
great.
I just want to highlight the reason why I think it sounds like we may not support the $700 is because in the past, when a new committee has gotten money, it's been under the jurisdiction of the board. We approved the expenditure of those funds for that committee, for that mailer. And so it was a little more tightly controlled, and it was for a reason. It was for information for something that was going to come up at a town meeting. So I think we would have a different assessment if the Trails Committee needed money for a mailer
Right.
for something for the town meeting, because that's a different, scenario.
Yeah, I
Selectman
understand.
Pacheco, did you have anything
No, I
else,
just,
sir?
how do we get this onto our budget then? Who would
I have voted the board, and we'll edit 122 and update our request.
Selectman Pacheco and Selectman Goulart, my question for you is, if this budget for the Trails Committee goes under the Board of Selectmen, are you still not okay with the $700 for the mailer?
I would ask that the $700 be included. So I would be
But you
asking,
may not approve the
we
expenditure.
not approve, we're gonna
Okay.
see how it's gonna be spent.
That was my
and
question.
I'd be
But-
interested in
so my
hearing from
question-
Mrs. Goulart
Mhm.
as to how much it costs to print that for
Mhm.
BP, so that.
About $300, we got over,
We probably won't be
we
using.
said to them, what can we get for about $300, and we get over 3,000,
Mm-hmm.
and we're still using them. So what I want to know is, what's the total we're going to put in the budget? What's the total we're looking at? Is it 1,600?
It'd be the 1,600 reduced by the 100 for the refreshments when you had pointed that
Well,
out.
it was 1,700. We've already talked about the reduction. That's why you have my little note here. So it's 1,600. Sorry for my horrible
No,
handwriting.
no, it's okay.
I didn't know this would be
No,
reproduced
that's a
for them.
valid question.
So it's 1,600,
Uh-huh.
based upon the previous conversation.
Another way to get out information is when, and it's too late this year, but when the town clerk sends the census forms, that can be done,
Right.
or when the tax bills go out, there can be an insert in the envelope, an informational, obviously, you gotta plan ahead.
Right.
We haven't used that for stormwater, because we had all these other events and things to do, but that's something that can be done at the town level.
Okay.
One thing, and then we're gonna take a question from the audience. I do wanna also remind you, and I think I'm being a little presumptuous, but if this is approved, this budget that the Trails Committee has presented, I'm certainly not suggesting that you spend funds needlessly, but I would ask, there has been a precedent set where a commission has requested a certain amount of money, has not used the funds, and then Finance Committee was not obviously excited to approve them again because they're saying you're not using them, or, it doesn't seem like you need money to do the work that you need to do.
Okay.
So I would just ask that the Trails Committee be aware of that as well.
And we've also taken that same position sometimes when we look at the money
Correct.
hasn't been spent.
Yep.
We've
Correct.
reduced it because it's not being
Use
spent.
it or
so-
lose it.
Right,
Right.
but, and that's not to say, like, maybe you have a reason. Maybe you didn't spend money because you found great savings with BP. I mean,
Yep.
doesn't mean you don't need
But
it
the
for the
next year,
following
maybe,
year,
it
so.
And then you might want to communicate that.
Yeah,
when
just
the
let us
request
know
comes in
that.
the
Okay.
next year.
We're being so
Sounds good.
prudent, that's what you're saying.
And if you come up with an informational, I'll call it a pamphlet, which is
Yeah.
what we had, we're gonna be using these until they're gone. They don't, so, because there's no dates, we're not saying we're having a meeting, it's a one-shot deal. So if you look at your information brochure, if it's something that can be handed out and be used
Again
until
and
you
again.
run out,
You can just print more.
you
when
save,
you run out.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Make it timeless.
Yeah.
Mr. Rhines, sir, can you introduce yourself, sir? Mr.
I'm sorry,
Rhines.
Tim Ryan's, 316 Main Street.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask that, since Serpent is working on trails that is supposed to run from Taunton through Dayton and through and all the way to Cold State Park, could any of that information that you're looking for to be put out, be sent out in conjunction with Serpent? Do they have any monies that could come to the town in order for you to provide that type of service? I do not know.
Those hours are in short supply. Don't be giving away our hours, right?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I'm
certain-
sure that Serpent has a lot of
You've worked
information.
with Serpent already
We-
with
yeah.
the bike share, so
Yep.
we can definitely make sure that you get that information. Serpent has been a fabulous partner in a lot of our initiatives. So I'm not sure specifically how much they can share or how relevant it would be at this stage, but I'm aware of all of that, so we can make sure that the information gets in the, if we get the information in the right format, I guess, right?
Do you have a map or a drawing or anything yet of proposed?
We don't have a proposal for Dayton. There's just a short 2 little mile section that, so Taunton is coming south to Railroad Avenue,
Yep.
and they're done.
Mhm.
And Serpent's plan comes to, and I'm not even sure if it goes all the way through Sweet Knoll, but it goes to or through Sweet Knoll.
Correct.
And then we
Yeah.
need to get it from Center Street to
Mhm.
Railroad Avenue. And
And,
where that's gonna go now,
yeah.
Is the
Is-
question.
is the question.
Right.
And I think
so.
Jonathan Gray had shown me, to answer your question, I don't know if there's a physical map, Selectman Goulart, but he had shown me on his phone, like with
Taunton
GPS,
Pathways also,
what
right.
the actual trail would be, so I will ask him if he has something like
Yeah,
that.
he has great maps.
He does.
And Serpent has maps, but the gap is what's gonna happen in
Correct.
Dayton, how we're gonna get around Aquaria and
Mhm.
Princess House, and,
Mhm.
I mean, it can come right behind Town Hall, but getting out of there, do we have to
Yeah.
come through
Right.
here? Is there still access on Sandpiper Way?
Mhm.
Is there not, how are we getting around?
Will there also be local trails, like, we have a lot of town-owned land, so, for example, if it were possible to walk from Brook Street to Main Street on town-owned land, would eventually there be a layout of that trail?
That is one thing we would love to do, is identify any town land that there are existing trails, or that we can create existing trails and trailheads. That is absolutely on our radar and what we hope to do.
I'm excited to see
Yeah, I
am
what
too.
the committee does. Sir, did you have any other questions this
No,
evening?
I think we're ready for a motion.
Yep, so
Much.
just to clarify, it sounds like we need one motion, I always get this messed up. We need one motion
I'm gonna
to
make a
put the
motion.
budget under
I'm gonna
the
make a
select.
motion.
You can do it in both.
One big
I'm gonna make a
motion?
Sure,
motion
why
that the Dayton Trail budget be placed in the Board of Selectmen's budget in the amount of $1,600 as it is broken down before us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Good work. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. I wanted to thank you for taking time out of your life to come here and answer those questions. I do
You are
appreciate it. I
welcome.
know you're very busy.
Thank you for the support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to thank you for all you do for our scouts.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. You have a great night, Mrs. Conti. Okay, good work, team. We are gonna move on to a,
Is it 7:35 already?
yes,
Or two.
but if we rewound the clocks back an hour to where they should really be,
So we're
we'd be
not,
at
we're
7
Arizona
minutes.
and
We'd be
not
actually
recognizing
2 minutes
daylight
early.
savings time. We're perfectly on time.
Sir, I wanted to tell you before we begin, Chairman Rhines, Chairman of the Parks and Recreation Commission, I actually didn't have many questions on your budget. I was waiting to hear your presentation and then ask about the reductions. So the floor is yours, sir. And thank you for being here.
Yes, we
What's
had
his
met,
account?
6:30.
6:30 is the number, I believe.
Thank you.
We had met, Mr. Rosa and I, Mrs. Umlin was not available at that time to go over the budget, and we decided to make some reductions across the board, especially in our equipment and repairs, maintenance lines. Having a discussion through and with the town administrator, it was decided that if we were to possibly purchase any big money items, that we would preferably go out to town meeting and have it be a vote of the people and use that through the general fund. So that's why we have reduced our budget drastically in the P&T aspect of things.
Can I ask about that?
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna direct my question to the town administrator. Is there a procedural reason behind that? Do we not have to go out to bid?
Oh, no,
Or
no,
like
no,
what?
you always, you can never get around procurement,
Okay.
sorry. That's just the way it is. But Mr. Rhines and myself had a conversation last budget season, and I said, why is this line so large? And he told me what the use was. And we are carrying in our operating budget a sizable, in my opinion, and it's no secret, sizable amount that we're taxing the populace on for large-scale items, large capital items that we would know, hey, we need a playground at North Dayton, North Dayton. We need to replace the slide, and we would know that in advance. And I believe it to be better use of funds to go through either CPC or free cash, rather than carrying it in our operating budget. And doing so does lower taxes. If you do it consistently, we can bring down some of the spending. So you have before you a request of 17,000 for that specific line, which is cut drastically from last year, so thank you very much. And we also did talk about bringing that down even lower to 12,000. Mr. Rhines thought that he could take care of that. So that's a discussion we had, but the request is truly 17. So I thank you for being so willing to work with me in the
So if
budget.
we could meet somewhere in the middle of that final figure,
Yeah.
that would be fantastic with
I-
us, if the board would be amenable to that, because
I didn't even have really any questions other than why the reduction, which you've both explained to me this evening. My only concern is, in a perfect world, right, and I think you would agree with me, but correct me if I'm wrong, sir, that we wouldn't have $2 million in free cash every year. So my concern would be not having it be, and I really don't ideologically have a strong, I really think it should be in the operating budget versus go to a town meeting. My concern is just relying on a pool of funds that
May not be there.
we should theoretically not want to be there in such excess.
But what is
So
happening
that
to
would
our
be-
playgrounds that such large-scale purchases need to occur all the time throughout the year?
Yeah, but this year, out of that $20,000 budget, we've spent a little more than $2,000, and we've got 3 months left.
as of now, correct, and I have been on the phone just today, as a matter of fact, ordering materials for our Easter egg hunt. I'll get into that timeframe.
Yep.
which
And that comes out of that.
And that comes out of that. And also, we're looking at making other expenditures before the end of the fiscal year. Unfortunately, Selectman Pacheco's, we run on a schedule of our highway department, and it's all predicated on when he has the men available for us to utilize. So we've discussed in recent meetings that, will we go out and go back out to bid for all of our surfaces for grass cutting and that type of things, and equipment repairs and maintenance, and alleviate the highway department from that type of work. So that's the discussions that we're having. I'd love to be able to have a meeting with a full board, including the town administrator and possibly the chairman of the board of selectmen, so we can go over this topic for the future. So that's what we're possibly looking at, not, this year, of course, because that's what the money they were requesting for this year, so.
I think we just want to make sure that the money is going to be there for the things that we need. For
We,
the
as
parks,
a
that's
past
all.
practice, Selectman Pacheco and other members of the board and Madam Administrator, we have always been frugal with our monies to be spent in
Yeah,
the
I'm not-
best
I'm not
possible
questioning
way.
that at
That's
all,
just
and you
what- no, I know
indicated
the
you were
underlying-
willing to reduce the figure, so I'd be in favor of reducing that figure then.
For the complete total.
And
or
then
just-
The
or-
17,000, maybe down to 15,000?
We would be amenable to that. We'd be amenable to that, absolutely. We're trying to work together, of course, with all parties involved, and we understand,
But if you need something, then we'll go to
Right.
town meeting.
yes, and, we have utilized CPC funds for, projects in the past, and we have a major project that's being presented in front of us now for a new playground proposal for North Dayton, so,
Which I think is great, and I appreciate
Yeah, no,
your
and I
commission
support
doing
that.
that.
yeah. And
me
we're,
too.
that's why we pay that 1% of our real estate tax into the fund,
Yep.
in order for, to do these type of projects.
Which is fantastic.
And as the chairman has said, we've been watching the amount of money that we've been spending. We had about $2 million, I believe, in free cash. It's not free cash, it's tax money that we've taxed the people.
Absolutely.
And then what happens with the free cash, everybody comes looking for the money. So we're trying to reduce that. I always think that we should have extra money at the end of the year.
Yeah,
We should always, we don't want to be short, But $2 million is a lot of money, so we're trying, with these budgets, we're looking at where we can cut down and not get the money, especially if we're not utilizing that money, so. I appreciate the fact that you said you would be willing.
We understand,
As
that
well
we
to
as
reduce
taxpayers, as, myself and you as coders, we all, we want to see the biggest bang for our dollar.
Yes.
And we also want to be as fiscally responsible as possible because, we all work for the town, regardless of what we look at. And we're all taxpayers and residents, so.
I wanted to hear from Selectman Goulart, if you had any questions?
Yeah, I do have a
apologize.
question on it, but I got to make a statement. Free cash is not totally from overtaxing people. You need to look at the year-end report that the town accountant puts together. Free cash is made up of any additional state aid you get that you hadn't anticipated. All right, that's one thing. Local receipts is a biggie. Now, we know that the building department's that's down.
Yeah.
But we also know the previous year, he had some remarkable money coming in. So it's not, what you have to look at is how much money was left in the budget that wasn't expended, that's X. And then you have to look at all the other
What was brought
breakdowns, and you have to see what was taken out of that, because there are some things that get taken off, when they do that. So I don't want anybody to think they were overtaxed $2 million, because that's not true.
But they were overtaxed.
There was money left in the budget that wasn't expended. So my question to you is now, looking at this number,
How much was raised?
Yeah.
no, it wasn't too much was raised. The raise was based on the plan we had. For some reason, the plan didn't get carried out in total, and the money didn't get expended.
Correct, which is
So
why
we're just
you
trying to
look
be a
to
little
see
bit more
what was
cautious.
spent.
But,
Cautious with our planning.
so my question to you is, if we reduce the 17, which is equipment repairs and maintenance, whether we go to 15,000 or we go to 12,000, whatever the number is we go to, you're not buying any new equipment in this budget, at least not in this line item.
Not right now at this time, because again, we do inspections, and we always do our inspections after the election is over. And then we meet as a group within 10 days after the election. We reorganize, and then we go out and do our inspections to see what our needs are. And then that's when we go out and take care of those needs, if we need to buy a new bouncy toy for one of the
Right.
playgrounds. Those are $5,000 a piece. They're a lot
Right,
of money.
okay, so my only concern is, like you said, you can work with the numbers, and all I wanted to know was, since we aren't budgeting anything for equipment, and we're focusing on, well, the big number is equipment repairs and maintenance, let's assume this does get reduced by another couple $1,000. With that number and what you would have in CPC, you're gonna be okay for,
Oh, we'd be able to operate with,
FY20?
with that budget presented to you and any corrections you'd like to make, or any adjustments. We would be able to operate without a problem for
Okay.
the fiscal year,
okay, all
without a
right.
doubt.
So what's the total number we're looking at now? Are we looking at
21,000.
21,000?
Correct.
Because we're reducing by 2,000.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the budget that was presented to us, with the exception of equipment repairs and maintenance, that be reduced to 15,000, a total budget of $21,000.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. I want to thank you for being patient. You are a consummate public servant, and I appreciate it very much, sir, as always.
I had put in a request, in a formal request, through your administrative assistant, Mrs. Brady, to also speak this evening on a topic, and
Sure.
we're gonna have our annual Easter egg hunt.
Okay.
And please, don't, I can see the water balloons coming my way right now.
Easter eggs.
The Easter egg hunt this year is gonna be on April 6th, starting at 12 noon behind Town Hall.
Get the balloon.
Unfortunately, that coincides with our town election.
The election, yes.
So residents, I ask you, if you do plan to attend, please take that extra 5 minutes, exercise your right to vote, go over to the elementary school and utilize that. I didn't want to have politics mixed with recreation,
Oh,
but it was
absolutely not.
appropriate
Show
for
the
this time.
kids how to do it, right?
Mr. Rhines, I do want to ask you this.
We have a backup date of 13 April, starting at 12 noon also.
Okay.
Same time, behind Town Hall, same location. I spoke with a former commissioner today at our official meeting place, and I think that this could possibly be a situation where we may have to ask the school to use like the elementary school in the future because of non-disabled access, disability access to this here. So you're gonna have parents gonna be walking strollers down, that type of thing.
The stairs.
So we're hoping the weather is gonna dry out a little bit between now and then. And anyone who has a stroller, we're gonna have them access where the road is to come down, and they can come right across the field with any strollers. It should be all right, hopefully by then. So that's what we're gonna ask. So just, parents, please be patient when you do come here. We love the event. I do need to talk to and see if we can reserve an individual. Matter of fact, I need to call the Easter Bunny personally. I just have not had any contact with him myself. I am looking to contact him, and we'll be sure.
Is it a him?
I have it, it is. I have his number. I'll give it to you after.
I'd appreciate that. I thought I had it. I think maybe he changed that, so I'll speak with you after the meeting, Selectman Pacheco. And also, Kite Day, we just have not set a date yet. It's an annual kite day. It's for the fourth graders at the elementary school. I'm waiting for the school to respond with a date. We have an instructor. His name is Mr. Archie Stewart, who comes down, I believe, he lives in Rochester, or, I'm sorry, in Roxbury or Dorchester. He comes down. He's been doing this since we've had it. And when Mr. Woods was on, and the fourth graders, the kids love it. I did it last year and had an absolute great
I
time.
missed Kite Day. I do want to ask you while you're here, so we are not mixing, you know, our event with politics, but I do like the Easter egg hunt. Am I allowed to go?
Absolutely.
Not going to say anything about the election, of course, but I do like that event. I almost got
Oh,
trampled.
this is an
by the
open
way last
invitation
year.
to.
We had a blast, and
Requirement?
I was allowed to
They
get
wouldn't-
it.
have an adult
I
section.
didn't want to refer to that, but.
I get my candy from the
Yeah.
bin in the office.
The Easter Bunny did change his number. There was a lot of telemarketers calling him, so I do know for a fact it's been changed, so.
Okay. I just want to say that this year we're going to do, instead of 2 age groups, we're going to break it down to 3 age groups, so it's
That would be good.
a
Oh,
lot
that's
better
good.
for the
What is your age?
the toddlers and things.
I'm in the-
So, and
I'm
you
a
want?
young
I have
kid.
2
Yeah,
kids. Do
the
you want to go
younger-
with one and
Yes.
help?
you guys want to wrap this up, but
I
we're
may
going
borrow a
to
child.
expand it a little more, so it's going to be, you know,
I think that's great.
a little more for our residents.
It won't be
so.
like the Hunger Games
Yeah.
with the.
It
there's
was a
only
little
so
like the
many
Hunger
eggs and
Games.
there's way more.
And I'm gonna put this out there now, please, residents, I ask you, if you're available that day and you could come down and just, you know, give us an hour to set up and volunteer a little bit of time, we could use the help, that would be fantastic. Usually just an hour worth of setup time, and,
We'll include it in our announcements.
and the
going
rest
forward.
is, you know,
Do we
so,
contact you to volunteer? Do people contact you?
Yes, you
Okay.
can contact me, I'll give you my number, it's 508, it's on the website anyway, it's
Oh, I was gonna
508
say.
It is
415,
on the website.
I'm sorry, 508-415-5907. Please, you know, if you do call and I do not recognize the number, please leave a message. I will call you back.
You will.
I will.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Can I just comment, just as a resident, just very briefly? I just want,
Very
I'm going to
briefly,
leave
we have other
myself.
people, Mr. Burns.
I would like to say that after hearing everything tonight that transpired in the
Oh,
early part of
please.
no public input, I'd like to say that everyone who did comment was very professional. It was calm. It did not get to an atmosphere where it was shouting and yelling. Everyone was very pleasant. You know, it's nice to see people be respectful of each other in this world today. So that's what we need more of.
Thank you, Mr.
That's all.
Amen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Administrator, I'm going to ask that I see we have some employees still here. I think
Sure.
they've been
Yep.
patient, and I think we can move to their specific items, because I'm sure they
Okay.
would like us to.
Is 5A one of them?
No, that's all me. The next 2 sections are me. So, Mr.
I'm
Ferry is
thinking
here for 422.
6E and F,
Yep.
and then Mrs. Ferry would be here for
7B.
and L.
So 6L is an error. And
Okay.
she cleared that up for me today.
Okay.
So she's
Thank
here
you.
for 7B.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go with, if it's okay with my colleagues, we'll do 6E and F, and then we'll move on, if that's okay, to 7B.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we take agenda items 6E and F out of order.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Mr. Ferry, how are you doing, sir?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. What did we just vote to go out of order for?
6E.
Oh, 6E, I'm sorry.
Highway.
I'm wrong.
E and F.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the highway department's budget. I only had 2 questions, but sir, I wanted to give the floor to you in case there was anything you wanted to present or any remarks that you wanted to make. He's like, no. Email me your questions.
The budget itself, as me and the town administrator went through, believe it's pretty straightforward. We made some good adjustments, and I don't know if we're gonna get into the other topic, but I think we made some adjustments that should be formidable for the next budget season.
No, I think this was great. I think what you prepared, I was very,
This budget is a
Very
moving
happy.
target, and it's a difficult one, so I think you do a good job with that. I just wanted to highlight that we've taken a lot of the costs here, moving them to public buildings as previously voted. So you are seeing a small reduction, but I just want you to be, I like to make the point this year that
oh
we
yeah,
are
no.
moving around.
You
Also-
pointed that out very nicely.
Okay, Mr. Ferry,
Mm-hmm.
if you noticed, did give himself just a level funded
Mm-hmm.
for his own salary, so something to take a look at tonight.
So not 2%?
Yes, regardless of my prodding and telling him he should probably do that, he was he didn't want to be presumptuous and put himself in for an increase. So he's level funded himself as an employee,
Okay.
so.
I'll
Everything
get
else
to
is-
that.
Everything else is.
I'm gonna use my one question, if you don't have anything else to present, Mr. Ferry?
It's a question for Mallory. So the dilemma we have with the present 422, are we comfortable moving forward with that number for the police detail?
Here that you've
Yes.
put in. I am, again, it's kind of a moving target, and we'll
Right.
have to manage the projects that you put forward and for this next fiscal year and monitor that, because, I mean, it's a high increase, of course, but what do we do? I mean, we need to make sure that the workers are safe, and we are required to do the details, so it is what it is.
That was actually my
unfortunately.
one question.
Oh, look
Mind
at us,
reader.
anticipation.
Mind
Very
reader.
good. So that's given us a bit of trouble this
Uh-huh.
current year. So we're trying to put in place a number that would make sense for the coming year. So that's why Mr. Ferry is asking about that
Okay.
specifically.
Yes, and like you explained, the previous occupant up here, we don't want to tax everyone for something that is unknown. Right.
I'm sorry,
No,
nope,
you-
I
you
did
had
get
your
my one question. I'm sorry.
So it's regarding the same item then, so why is there such an increase? I see in the past, it was in 2018, it was $9,000 we spent. We've almost doubled that so far this year, right?
Yeah,
Why-
right now, I'm in excess of $12,000 in the red in that line.
So
And my whole 422 line is in the red also, so we need to do a reserve fund transfer.
So what are we doing? What is the town doing that we're using more police detail then? That's what
It's a combination of things. It could be storm events, cleaning up storm events, work details, repairs.
Like road
Yeah, it's-
repairs, yeah.
Yeah, majority of it is not scheduled work. It's just, most of our work is street department work.
Yeah.
It's on the road.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the increase. You know, you've already spent more in this budget than was appropriated, so
Yeah.
Right.
if we reduce that, we're gonna be hitting
Mhm.
the same problem for next year, so.
Selectman Goulart.
Tom, 5580, how does that relate to 5303? Or does it? Traffic control. Who does traffic control if it's not police? Or do you budget on-duty police?
That's, well,
different?
the police line was developed just for that detail after the contracts were negotiated.
Okay.
The traffic control, that's where I purchased my, like, signage and,
Oh, their supplies.
right.
Oh, all right. I was picturing somebody controlling, directing traffic.
Right.
My other question is relative to off-duty police details. Now, and you may already have done this, does any of off-duty police details or will it get assigned to the stormwater budget?
That budget already has a detail line,
Okay, fine.
yeah, separate in its own,
Okay, fine, okay.
and that one's just as challenging.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Okay, all right, that's fine.
So I'm not going to direct this to you, Mr. Ferry, but I am going to direct this to my colleagues. So I actually have somewhat of an issue with not having a 2% increase for the highway superintendent's salary, and it's simply an issue of parity, where we have been granting a 2% increase when, I feel like I always look to the right. We've been granting a 2% increase when there was a favorable performance evaluation, which was kind of the whole point. We have granted more than a 2% increase when a job description had changed and we were asking personnel to take on new duties that weren't explicitly in their job description. So what I'm going to recommend in keeping, and I appreciate you not asking for an increase, Mr. Ferry, and you are a stand-up gentleman and a consummate public servant, and I mean that. I'm going to suggest to my colleagues that we do grant a 2% increase. I have done the calculations. Apple iPhone fail me not. A 2% increase would be a $1,528.37 increase for a total for the superintendent's salary of $77,946.74. So I would like to see that in the final budget. If you want to give this money back to the town after you get it, Mr. Ferry, that is up to you, sir.
I'm in favor of giving him an increase, but I'm going to ask you this, Tom. Are you more comfortable waiting until the contract is settled and we do them all at the same time?
Yes.
Because to me, that makes sense.
The highway contract?
Isn't it coming up?
Yes, they're working on it, but I think,
It's coming up.
I
It's going.
believe
We
your
got the
board
letter.
with the finance committee wanted to go a different direction with that. Using that evaluation forms and
Oh,
coming
no,
up
no,
with
no.
that.
What happened with the evaluation forms, the town administrator and I have got to sit down and go through the rating system, because we've got to figure out how to tie the rating system to increases. But what the chairman has said is he's making a proposal, and what I'm saying is I would support that. But would you personally prefer that we settle the highway contract and settle your salary at the same time and put it all in the budget at that time?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that, but I don't see why those two things, we can do the CBA and we can,
So the only reason I'm like this weird face that I'm making, is that I'm not anticipating this. I don't know if I want to put this out in the universe, but in the event things go awry with the highway union, I mean, I've never sat down with them. I don't want that to hurt him. That's the only,
Yeah,
I
what
mean, if
we've,
you're sticking with 2%, you gave 2% to the police in their first year. So I don't think there will be a difference. So I understand where you're coming from, but
if we've gone to the annual town meeting and we don't have a contract settled by that date, so we can put the money in for
Right,
everybody,
right.
then what we do is, if it gets settled after the annual,
We
and
take
we
it to
don't
fall.
have one a meeting in between, it goes to the fall. Yeah, and they get retro, that's all I'm saying.
I still stand by the 2%.
I also, I think it's commendable that you're not asking for a pay raise. I know you work very hard for the town, so
He does.
as a taxpayer, I appreciate whatever we pay you. I do have a question regarding the salary for fiscal year 2018. It was higher. Why? What was different?
Some-
Mr.
it's
Ferry
split
took
up.
some of his hours into stormwater.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So while that's also a moving target, they're trying to figure out just how much time everybody's spending on stormwater. And so we settled last year, a 20% or something like that.
Roughly, yes.
Something in there.
Yeah, that's,
So that's, yeah.
that's to be fluid at this point also.
So anything that you provide as an increase tonight, if you do vote in that way, we would also update the stormwater budget to reflect the same increase.
Yep. So bear with me just a moment, colleagues. I'm doing a little last-minute math
It
here.
was mentioned about the evaluations, and that may cause an increase in people's salary. I'm not necessarily, I think I've stated this in the past, in favor of that. I think if somebody has a good evaluation, good for them. I know when I worked for the state, if I had a good evaluation, I felt very good, didn't reflect on my pay. I had to do my job, so I'm not necessarily think that we should be scoring people on the evaluation, and because of that score, we should be giving them a 3 or 4 or 5% increase, so.
Nope, I agree. I base this on, I know whenever I have reached out to the highway superintendent.
This isn't directed towards
he has
him.
always-
He does a great
He
job.
always gets back, and I just, I appreciate as someone who has limited time that he is responsive in that manner. That makes a difference to me and to
Right.
my ability to do my job. So I do appreciate that, beyond the good job.
I don't question
Oh, I
the
know.
percentage.
Yeah.
I'm just asking him, as the department head, how would he prefer to have it done? That's all I wanted to know from him. Because, last year, he told us what he wanted, we told him what was gonna happen.
He still hasn't given that money back to the town, so I think he's okay with it.
And if we do approve this budget, and the townspeople approve this budget, if you want to give the money back, it'd be $30 a week that you'd be giving back
Installments.
to the town.
So,
I'm going to make a motion that we approve
do you
this
want the
budget.
new figure?
I copied it from your.
Oh, okay, perfect.
That we approve this budget that was presented to us with the increase of 2% on the superintendent's pay, which is an increase of $1,528.37 for a total figure of $705,277.04.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next, you're welcome, Mr. Ferry, snow ice control. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, this is the budget that we like to keep where it is. We did increase it a few years back, and we're pretty comfortable with that. This is one budget that early in the winter that we asked your board to permission to overspend it, and then we pay for what the actual expenses are. So that's why the numbers seem to be low for
Yeah.
operating that town.
Yeah, but then you
Right.
do an end-of-year transfer or we do some sort of,
Comes off the cherry sheet.
thank you. I didn't have,
And it's just, I feel like the public needs to know this. We can overspend this, but there's rules on that. So if we increase too much, then you can't overspend, so.
and that answers my question.
And you
so I
can't spend
appreciate
it on
that.
anything else.
That's
That's the
right,
other problem.
exactly.
Oh, okay.
And you can
Exactly.
never reduce it, which would affect your tax rate. That's why we
Right.
keep it this
I
rate
understand.
at that level.
All right.
So this is a little bit of a
I
special.
didn't have any
I
questions.
don't have any questions.
Selectman Goulart, did you?
No,
I'll make a motion that we approve the snow and ice control budget as presented to us,
at 50,000, right?
as presented to us, yeah.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes.
I'm going to make a motion that we go to 7B.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Animal Control Officer Ferry, we're here to discuss, act on the animal inspector's salary for fiscal year 2019. Bear with me just a moment.
What budget number is that?
It's not part of
It's-
our budget.
It's from
Oh,
this.
Oh, from the
You
Board of
got this
Health?
from the Board of Health, yeah, somewhere.
Can I make a
Oh,
couple of
This
comments
is
on
the
that?
bad part
Is
of
this
going out of
finally
order.
getting this straight?
Did you say no?
Now I remember. Yes, now I remember.
So while we, public, when we go out of order, we have to find the papers, so just bear with us. Just for your background information, this is a request from the Board of Health to increase the animal inspector's salary. This is for our consideration And they're explaining that they voted unanimously to approve their budget. In that vote that they took to approve their budget, there was an increase of $2,500 in the animal inspector's salary, bringing the salary from $1,013.52 to $3,513.52, which is more than the 2% increase that's standard. So Mrs. Sperry, before the board asks our questions, if we have any, is there anything you wanted to say? And then
You wanted to say something?
Unless you have something to say, may I have the floor? Thank you. This is not specifically a raise, I just want to explain this a little bit.
I'm just using their
Oh,
words.
right.
Yeah.
You saw this budget last year during the
Yeah.
budget process line by line as we've been going through this budget process this year, and this figure was in here. So my thought is, I'm not sure this extra vote even needs to be done. The town accountant receives memos usually about pay increases and all of that, and was saying that this specific increase was not listed on a memo. My thought, and I know that the chairman of the Board of Health feels this way as well, is that because you voted on it through a budget process that is similar to what we're doing,
At
the
our last
same as what
meeting.
we're doing.
Yep.
At last year, when you approved this document, back then, and same for the finance committee,
approved,
that this was
correct.
included.
Yes.
And to me, I just feel like this is
Okay,
silliness a little bit, because it's duplication of work.
so
but-
why
Exactly, why? is
are
it
we
happening?
here? How did this get on the agenda?
Go ahead.
Well, what happened was we started looking over this year's budget. And I took the budget and I went, I'm not getting paid for what that says that I should be getting paid for.
From the job description, yep.
And so we went, we figured it out.
Uh-huh.
And I've been being paid on just the 2% from the budget instead of the 2,500. So we discussed it, and my chairman of the board went to the town accountant. He goes, well, it's not anywhere written anywhere, so I guess it didn't happen. I don't know.
So you were getting 2% on the wrong salary,
I
on
was
a
getting
lower,
2% on the 1,000,
Correct.
on the 1,000.
when it should have been
budget.
2% of 2,500,
No,
right?
no.
It
Should've been
have
2,500.
2,500
Right.
were
Additional.
Gotcha.
additional.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I was not getting
Thank you.
paid since July on the other amount.
okay, I understand that.
So what I know about this is, when I went to the town accountant to find out why this wasn't being paid, she pulled out a list that came from this board, and it had people's names, it had job classifications. And the board voted those specific job classifications and rates of pay. The animal inspector was not listed, so because it wasn't listed, it was just given a 2%. All she needs is a piece of paper from, assume we vote this tonight, that the animal animal inspector's salary for FY19 should be, and it's the total of these two numbers, so that she can get her retroactive to last year. And the amount of pay she will get is what they budgeted. But it was because it was not left off, and yet all the other ones were listed. So,
Okay, I understand. Selectman Pacheco, did you have any
I have no
questions,
questions.
comments, concerns?
No, I'll make the motion that we increase the salary for the animal inspector from $1,013.52 to $3,513.52, an increase of $2,500, and that's for fiscal year 2019.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
second.
I thought you were gonna say 20, and I was like, no.
Current,
Sorry.
I
current.
did say 2019.
No, you did it perfectly. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. I do have one question, though, and this isn't just about this issue. In general, and Selectman Goulart, this is sort of directed towards you because I think you have a sound understanding, and you as well, Madam Administrator, of municipal finance. When something is refused to be paid, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. The process, as I understand under Massachusetts general law, is that the town accountant, whoever, in any town accountant, has the total right to not pay something, okay? Not, without question. The procedure, though, is that the town accountant would give the treasurer collector a memorandum that says, hey, don't pay this, and this is the reason why, right? So in theory, we shouldn't have to do too much digging on stuff like that. So I'm just making a blanket statement that we need to ensure that those procedures are being followed going forward. That's all I wanted to say about that, because we don't want to have any situation where we're wondering why something isn't being paid. Again, no question about any town accountant's right to not pay something, but we do need to get those memos or those directives to the collector and treasurer, just so there's no misunderstanding.
It wouldn't go that way.
I thought we voted on it.
It wouldn't go that way.
We wanted written.
I'm just citing
Something right as to
Massachusetts
why.
general law, what's on the town accountant's website.
If the town accountant holds something, meaning not paid, she's gotta have a reason. So in this particular case, all she kept asking for was, give me a piece of paper that says the selectmen voted to set the salary for the full amount, 35. The chairman of the Board of Health said, I thought I gave her that because we approved the budget. And I said, you know, to us, it's a formality. It won't audit if she does it and that position is not listed, okay? So, in all honesty, if the town accountant puts something on a warrant to pay it, the treasurer can refuse to pay it if in fact the treasurer feels that it is illegal or something else. Because you gotta remember, she's a separate elected official and she has her own powers and duties.
Yep.
So in effect, if it's gonna be questioned, it should be questioned by the town accountant and hopefully get resolved, so we don't have to do this.
Yeah, no, and I think
Can I just
we're
ask-
saying the same, I thought we were saying.
Right, so as municipal auditing, Selectman Goulart, which I know is your background, I thought this was redundant. Now, I totally respect that the town, I actually like it, that she double checks and verifies everything. That
Absolutely.
makes me happy. I am happy we have a town accountant
Amen.
who takes the time to do that. She's very detail oriented and she's good at what she does. We all know that. I thought that she could have communicated earlier that something was missing, or she could have been a little bit more, I think this is redundant. If you are looking at a budget line by line and you approve it, a reasonable person, in my opinion, would assume that you approved that increase. So the minutes should have been fine, along with the meeting packet. So that was
I
my
understand.
question about the situation.
This was the problem,
But to
quite
me, I think-
frankly. That list that
Oh,
listed.
the memo.
Not
Yeah, I'm
this
sorry,
piece
yeah.
of paper.
The memo.
The list.
The memo.
The list that she showed me.
Right.
That listed all these positions and clearly omitted that one.
It omitted animal inspector, not
Correct.
ACO,
But
so
I-
because of the two different positions.
Right,
But
when I
my
was
thought
talking
is,
to the chairman of the Board of Health, I says, I think I know why this happened. Because the two jobs were combined and everyone kept referring to it as the ACO. And I says, no, you know we
It's the animal
separated
inspector,
those.
yeah.
So that adds
So-
to it, but tonight's vote should just resolve
Yeah,
that.
no, it does. My point, so I just want to read what the Massachusetts general law is. The town accountant may disallow and refuse to approve for payment in whole or in part, which is what happened here, any claim as fraudulent, unlawful, or excessive, and in such case he shall file, he or she, that the law said he, with the town treasurer, they need to change that.
Yes.
A written statement of the reasons for such refusal, MGL Chapter 41, Section 56. So again, my point is just simply, she can refuse to pay something in whole or in part, but the whole point is that we know why, and then we can correct that, because that would be on file with the town treasurer. That was all I was
She
saying.
was trying to get this resolved, and I only got involved because I was doing something else, and it was brought to my attention that this had never gotten resolved. So then I went to her and said, tell me what we have to do, because we all know this should be done. What do you need? And that's, as I say, when this came in, I spoke to the chairman of the Board of Health, and I said, just put this on a piece of paper and send it to the board.
I'm sorry to belabor this, I really am, but why is it not enough to have minutes and a budget that was approved as presented? This is a real question. Why is that not enough?
Well, I guess if that list hadn't been made,
Right.
and it was just pay all these the way they are, it wouldn't
Based
have been
upon-
questioned. But the list singled out specific positions and
So
omitted
because
one.
that document was created, it caused a conundrum, really? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, and the other thing too is, obviously now we have two job descriptions, so.
Well, they're two separate-
We'll be
right.
going, we'll be,
Going forward,
Yeah.
Okay, Stacy, I apologize for the length of time that
Thank
took.
you, both of you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
yeah,
all
I'm
you
just
do.
glad.
We got it resolved. Teamwork. Have a good evening.
I don't know where we are.
Okay,
For the bears.
now we are gonna go back to the town administrator's report. Team, it is 9:15. I strongly think we can get out of here by 10 PM. So, Madam Administrator, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. 920 is our tuition budget. We have a tuition reimbursement policy where if somebody wants to use these funds during the budget process, they need to tell us, you need to approve that, and then we can appropriate our budget as appropriate. Sorry for that.
So we don't,
oh.
nope, I'm sorry.
We originally have voted on a budget for $2,000, which I do believe will be enough. However, we now have an individual asking to use it. This is the same individual that has been using it this year, and when we got his request, we increased it to $4,000. So this is here for two reasons. Approval for Mr. Green to continue using the tuition reimbursement, as well as a examination of whether or not you want to increase the budget. Right now, it's at $2,000. And if you wanted to increase it to 4, our budget request.
So I really don't have a question about this. I support this. I appreciate Mr. Green for taking the town up on its offer to invest in the professional development of its employees. So I have no issue, since we know, based on this fiscal year, that it's going to be used. I have no issue with making it 4,000. It's going to a good cause. So I'll throw it over to my colleagues.
I have no questions. I've reviewed the letter. I'm in favor.
Selectman Goulart?
What, no, I don't have a question. Is this is a separate line in this big budget, right, 920?
It's in 920, it's benefits, tuition, it's one line.
Yeah.
Currently, for this current fiscal year, it's funded at 4,000. The request I submitted with you, and you approved back in January, was 2,000, because at that time, we had not heard from anybody who was looking to use it. So Mr. Green is following the proper procedure, and we'll be using it again, so.
So proud of you, Mr. Green.
I'm glad.
Do any of my colleagues, and for our other employees who are watching this evening,
Get your requests in.
yes, absolutely. We would love to see more people following in Mr. Green's footsteps. And at this time, since I hear no further discussion, I will entertain motions.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we increase Department Number 920, Benefits Tuition, by $2,000, and that we approve a department total of $4,000.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Chief McGee. It's nice to see the people in his department inspired to continue their professional development, so that's fantastic. Madam Administrator.
Just need one more motion to actually approve Mr. Green. Was that included in the?
That wasn't, I thought that was.
No, I just increased the budget. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request of Mr. Alex Green to continue to pursue his degree and be reimbursed from our Department 920 tuition account.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Madam Administrator.
Thank you very much. I have the pleasure to announce that we are in receipt of another grant through DLTA in the amount of $15,000. This grant will be used to design a culvert management plan. This coincides with stormwater work and all of the work of a superintendent of streets is conducting, as well as my own work with repairing culverts. We can utilize the plan to apply for other grants, including DER, who does a culvert management plan construction and design every year. The governor's office has come out with climate change grant opportunities, so this would just give us a leg up for the MVP grants, climate change grants, to actually repair our aging infrastructure. And why this is so important is because some of our culverts are actually small bridges, and the Lieutenant Governor's small bridge program is quite beneficial when you can prove that it's a small bridge. So we have a lot of water. We need to figure out ways to control our stormwater, control our drainage issues, and fix our infrastructure that is impacted by water and flooding. So it's one of our vulnerabilities, and one that we are working. So this is very exciting to me. It's
Yeah.
kind of nerdy, but I like it.
Very good
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.
So this scope of work is before you. Selectman Goulart did send over a couple of changes, grammatical, not substantive, and it's here for you to sign. So you just need to vote and sign to agree to the scope of work. There are many culverts here in town, so the plan doesn't we don't have enough money to cover them all, but a good chunk, about 80 to 100. Serpent has a drone, they'll be using the drone, getting coordinates, mapping out, prioritizing based on need, and itemizing some other information that we would utilize.
Well, I want to thank
we
you.
have to get the
I want to, because I think context is always important in public service. For those who don't think $15,000 is a lot of money, it actually is really important when you're developing a plan, because if we didn't get that money, then that would be money that we would have to spend in order to derive the plan, which, by the way, the whole purpose of the plan is to plan things efficiently before things get to a point where they need to be replaced. A replacement is always more expensive than a fixing up or a renovation of sorts. So just last year alone, I believe I calculated that the town administrator, between the grants that she had secured with the highway superintendent and also Green Communities, which she assisted us with, we brought in around $236,000 last year alone, which is certainly nothing to scoff at. So this $15,000 tells me
I'm looking at
we
12.5.
are, you're looking at what?
12.5.
12.5?
What's that?
12.5. He's saying 15,000.
Oh, I thought it was 15. I must have dyslexia.
12,500.
So I'm sorry, it's 12,500.
We'll
That's
take
my
it.
fault.
We'll
I
take
said, well, I said 15, so I apologize.
We are well on our way to bringing in more
Raise
money
that
this year as
2,500.
well.
It's donated by Bill Napolitano. Stormwater
To bring us
time.
up to the- So we are well
I
on our way to
apologize.
another fiscal year of bringing in more money to help us do the things we were gonna have to have taxpayers help us fund. So this is great. So we appreciate that. Okay,
Oh,
Madam
They put me
Administrator, do
on.
you have anything else?
so I'm just looking for a motion to approve, but if you could designate that, because I applied for it, so they put me on it.
Sure.
Just designate that I can
Do
sign.
you sign? Okay, I am accepting motion.
fine.
I'm entertaining, excuse me, motions to authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement with Serpent for the grant funds.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the technical assistance grant application for $12,500 with Serpent, and that the town administrator sign it for the town.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, the other thing I want to tell you is, we just got notification from EPA, the Stormwater Committee, about the stormwater management plan we have to have in place by the 1st of July of this year. And as I told the town administrator, one of the things that we'll be talking to Bill Napolitano about, or the other gentleman,
Eric Arbini, Jeff Walker,
Grant King.
Grant. Oh,
Yep, I forgot.
he's a Dayton resident too. Sorry, Grant.
He's not watching.
We're going to be asking that when they do the work that's listed in here, that they try to do the stuff we need for July 1st first. In other
Oh,
words,
yeah.
take this out of order,
'Cause that's the
because
most pressing.
we've got to do the, we got a whole checklist that we've got to do for EPA, so.
Okay.
So that'll be good.
Perfect. So we
Go
approve
for the
that.
vote.
You
Just
got a
go for
motion
the
and a
vote.
second?
Yep.
We need
Okay,
a vote.
we have a motion, and so we get off on these, then I forget. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. And I want to thank our highway superintendent, our town administrator, and of course Serpent for their help and work on this. We really appreciate it. Moving along to budget review, I'm gonna set aside 5 minutes for this, because we're really just, this is old business, and so we're, okay, I like that.
Okay.
See, we're getting money back, we're getting time back, we like this.
158 is the
Sure.
tax title. This is here back before you because we had questions about what Mary uses this for.
And we wanted to see if it would be possible to reduce this.
Yes, so I said to her what I relayed the discussion essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said that Mr. Pacheco proposed to cut it in half, she, no, don't, I could tell that was going through her mind. So I said, well, my response was I had actually recommended to do 16,000, which is a reduction of 3,000, and she said she could work with that. There's a lot that goes into tax title, variable costs. She did have, I was surprised by the number of people on, kind of in a payment plan and a list of potential foreclosures. It was in the high 20s. I was just surprised by that, since it's kind of a good economy right now. So she does have a lot, and in April is when she does a lot of her spending, so that's why we wouldn't see it on these sheets. It hasn't happened yet, so.
But you would have seen it from fiscal year 2018. I'm not
No, I know.
discounting we needed her expertise, which was why we didn't act on it last week. But I'm just saying it hasn't been spent. But to Selectman Goulart's point, and I do listen when you speak, Selectman Goulart, you had said that the reason why you were thinking not to decrease it is because things do come up and you don't know. It's sort of like a roller coaster in that you might have a year where you have a lot of stuff. So I'm sensitive to that as well. Did you have anything you
That's a
wanted to
lot.
add about that?
No.
So is the motion that you're looking for is to reduce this to 16,000?
Me? I am just reporting back information.
She said she
My
was
own
comfortable.
recommendation was 16,000.
And Mary said she could
And
work
she
with
said
it.
she could work with that.
Okay.
But when I presented her with half, she
No, I-
did
She had
not
a
like
visceral
that. Yes.
reaction.
No, if I could speak on this
Of
before
course
we
you
even
can,
have a
Selectman
motion.
Pacheco.
In 2018,
Right.
she was given 19,000, we spent almost $4,000. And in this fiscal year, I get it that April is be the time that maybe you take some more action. We haven't spent any money yet, so I really am concerned about us putting more money into the budget that may become free cash at some point, that we don't use it. So I'm glad she's willing to reduce it. I tend to think it should be reduced a little bit more, but I will let Mrs. Goulart entertain a motion, and I will second.
Yeah, I will make a motion that we reduce the tax, Department 158, tax title foreclosure account by $3,000, making the total for FY '20 $16,000.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second discussion.
Yeah, what I want to say is, we actually still have 2 shots to further reduce this, if you want to, because we got to meet with the FinCom, and they're going to look at this too,
Yep.
and they're going to see what we did.
Yep.
If when we go to the annual town meeting, it's at 16,
Yeah.
and we talk to Mary again, and she says, things are looking good, and I don't think I'm gonna, you can actually reduce this further on
On
town
the
meeting floor.
Sure.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's why I have no issue with
So,
this.
so the concern is that if the
If
If the payment plans
Yeah.
are working,
Yeah.
that's good. If things start to go south, she's gonna need money to take action.
Correct.
And nobody wants to do it, but,
No, I
And
agree.
also at that
Money for
time,
this
yeah.
year, that-
She
this is
does,
next
yeah,
year's budget
this
we're
is
talking
next year's
about.
budget. And for that time, you'll have the historical spending for
Well,
this year.
that's the
So
point,
that-
is that April and May would have happened, we would
And
be
we would
into
have an
June,
idea
so
as to
we,
what next year could potentially.
and what she was spending in
Right.
those quote-unquote
Yeah.
busy months. So I think that's a great suggestion, and
and if
I
it happens
appreciate it.
near the end, if everything's going good, but we get to just the end of May,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and Mary says, there are problems, and I'm not gonna get to them this year, it's gonna go into the next fiscal, so.
It's also important to note, we are in a very good economy, decently good. So, I mean, it's a good thing.
Right,
So that might
but-
be why we're not seeing anything. Once we turn, the only good news there is that we usually get a heads up from the private sector. They'll get it first and then we get it, so we can plan ahead. But maybe we've been in a pretty good set of years, the last few years, so.
I'll also comment that over the years, going back to when I was first on the Finance Committee and succeeding years, when Mary was the Assistant Treasurer, Collector, whatever, Mary was the person who set up payment plans, and she has always been pretty successful.
Right.
And that has reduced or eliminated or, we haven't had a lot of tax title, so
Which is good.
that's good.
Okay, we have gone just to 5 minutes and we got through one thing, so we're gonna have to speed it up. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, that motion passes. Harbor Master, 1 minute.
I spoke with the police chief today. He said that he believes the harbor master should receive a 2% increase, just like the rest of the police union and
Yep.
himself.
And
That
ask and
is
you
in this-
shall receive.
And that is the same as, you know,
Okay.
department-wide. That's what his comment was.
Great. So I did the calculation on that, and a 2% increase would be $50, and that would bring, there would be just a moment, the fiscal year 20 harbor master stipend to $1,090.40. If my colleagues were going to go along with the 2%, you may have thoughts on honoring that request. I have no issue with that, but I do want to know what everyone thinks.
I'm in agreement with that, but also. is
With
that
the
for
2%?
assistant? Yes.
Yeah, what
Okay.
about the
The
assistants?
Assistant harbor master.
Are they
Uh-huh.
gonna
Should
do
also get
2%?
They should get 2%, absolutely.
Is that what that number is?
No, give me
No.
1 second.
That number is,
Would also be-
also has a third assistant.
Okay, so it'd be,
1 second, 1,500.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pacheco.
Yes, so this increase, thank you. The reason it's more than 2% is because there's a third person, so I don't think we need to reduce that one.
Okay, so what's the new title for the harbor master?
You mean salary?
The new total is
The
1,000.
whole department, I got.
Oh,
I got the
I'm
dollars,
sorry.
1090,
It would
40.
be, hold on 1 second, it would be $10,350. Nope, I'm sorry.
No, it can't be.
Nope, I'm sorry.
Gotta be 9,000 or something.
1,459.60 minus 50 minus 10,300. It would be $8,890.40. Please, someone check that for me.
I am gonna check that.
Thank you.
So you said the 2% was $1,090.40.
Yep, it was an
correct?
increase of $50. So I
Oh, I see.
subtracted the 50 from his increase in the salary, the $1,459.60,
Okay.
and I subtracted that from the 10,300. Is that logic correct?
Not where I would go with it, but maybe.
No, it has to be correct.
I think so.
He's getting $1,409
40,
less,
1,000.
so that's what I reduced it by,
So that makes
and
sense.
60 cents. So I arrived at $8,890.40 for the total departmental fiscal year 20 budget.
That's what I come up with,
Yes,
889040.
okay, you are a numbers person. I am correct.
You are a
You have
numbers person.
vindicated me.
First grade math.
so
She
the,
did it almost faster than me
so what
without
is
the
the assistant
calculator.
harbor master? Where's
They
that?
are at 500 apiece, I believe. If there's 3, it's just 500 apiece.
That's right, yeah, that's
There's
correct.
3 assistants?
Yes, yeah, they added a third, there were originally 2.
So are they gonna get 2%?
They get more than that because,
The extra,
actually, no, wait, this doesn't make sense. Why is it just going up randomly 20? So, why don't we do this? Why don't we set it, if it is 500 apiece, they probably would not be getting 2% if you
Correct.
said that.
That would just be
It would just
their
be their
level
stipend.
funding it, yeah.
Right.
So can we, bear with me just a moment? I can't do this right now. I literally don't have the capacity to do the 2% plus what was requested. Like,
So
as
you-
if they
so
were
you-
gonna get 2%.
So 500
Yep.
times 2%. It's just, that's nothing. Hold on, it's just gonna be $10, so 10.
Yes, so it's 30.
Okay, we'll
10,
level
20,
fund it
30,
first.
so you're gonna go 1070,
Times 3, because there's
times
3.
3. So 510 times
Yep.
3, 1530.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
1530.
Sounds about right.
So
Good
that
work,
makes the
team.
new number.
No, I
I
could
love
not
you.
do it, I don't know why.
So you're increasing them by $30. And they're each going to get 510 apiece.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm thinking like, what would Jen do? Because she needs to know all this, so.
So we're at 892040
Yep,
with the $30 increase.
correct.
Thank you. Look
Uh,
at us
Good
with
work,
all of our
Selectman
different
Goulart.
jobs.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we give the harbor master a 2% increase, and the assistants 3 assistants, 2%, making the total budget for the harbor master $8,920.40.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, is he gonna have any warrant articles? Because Mr. Pacheco and I were looking, we put it off from the fall.
We requested as part of this revised budget process that people submit their capital items along with their budgets, and most people did not.
So we're gonna have to go
So
again?
I wanted to be able to have this answer for you, for this very reason. He did not submit anything. I think he might be holding back and not submitting anything. We did have a conversation about it. However, maybe if he knows now that you're looking for it, maybe he will reconsider, but he did not submit
The
anything.
FinCom will want it separate from anybody that's gonna propose something.
Of course, but he is, I think, saying, no, I'm not going to submit it based
I
upon
don't
what was
think we oughta-
going on last.
I don't see why
Time.
we would push that then.
Right.
If he's
No,
not-
definitely
If
don't
he
push it.
doesn't want, I mean, we're
And
talking $3.
And this department is pretty good at advocating for what it needs. I'll give you an example. Fiscal year 2018, they spent $1,600 more than what was budgeted. So we support this department. They are fierce advocates for themselves, and my understanding as someone who oversees this department loosely would be, if they needed it, I would expect that they would bring it to me, because in the past, they have. And we've either said yes, usually we do say yes, when it came to the boat and when it came to the harbor. So I have no issue with your
Has
thinking on that.
anybody given you anything?
A couple.
Just a couple?
Mr. Ferry, the planning board, I know of some things, nothing officially like, here, Karen, here's the warrant article, but I know of some things. I have a running list. I believe Karen does too.
So we could have some more from others?
I think that you'll find some.
Okay.
Okay. We are gonna get into, we voted, correct?
Did we vote?
No.
No, you did not.
So it was a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next, we're gonna go into our new budget items. I do want to, I went through these, and there was nothing too much controversial in the sense of things had changed a lot. So I hope that we can get through this somewhat quickly. We're gonna move on to 171, conservation, and I think that this should just take a couple minutes, so I'm gonna
They
give us,
sent in a level-funded budget.
well, you never know.
I'm gonna make a motion, we can have a discussion, but
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Conservation Commission's budget request.
Sure. Do we have a second?
What are we looking at, 6552?
Nope, 171. Yeah,
No,
you're on the
yeah.
right page, yep, I'm sorry. Oh,
Oh, I misspoke. I'm sorry. You're
no,
seeing
she
that
was
it's-
talking about the total, okay,
6,552.
correct.
Oh, okay.
Yep, as presented.
Okay, yeah, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Did you have?
Discussion.
I'm sorry. I said level funded. I think I need more coffee.
It's not
Yeah,
level
no, it's
funded,
not
but
level
it's
funded.
it's
It's
very
salary level
modest.
funded.
It's 2.34% increase.
Correct.
But overall. Yes,
Okay,
okay.
let's keep the train on the tracks here, people. I did have a couple questions.
We lost that
What-
myself, goes rail. Use another.
There's no tracks.
Try another analogy, that didn't work.
So under professional and technical, now in the spirit of how this board has been approaching the budget this fiscal year, it seems like, we have questioned why we continue to fund things when the funds aren't used. And I know this is only $500, I am not being nitpicky, but when are we going to actually, not just question it, but actually say, okay, you've never used this, it's been 3 years, why? And I'm just using this as an example, I'm not picking
I'm
this
actually
apart.
very confused by this budget because I know that they have like she's not counsel, but they have like a person that they reach out to and she works with them very closely. And I know that she's been doing work.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really get what's happening here.
To
Are
who
they
you know
using the
will, Madam
wetlands?
She
Administrator.
hasn't submitted an invoice, do you think?
I would assume they don't have invoices, it's been zero.
Well, if it's professional and technical and somebody's
Well,
doing
she would have had
services,
to-
she has to,
Right. And you know who I'm talking about. So, and I know that she's been places because I've been there with her. So, I was confused by this. Maybe, and then my thought was maybe they're using the wetlands account. But why? Why would they do that?
My other question is, there were some increases like into other supplies. There was a modest increase in dues and subscriptions, and so I just had questions as to like why that was.
So I'm not sure. I got this write-up, actually at their meeting that I asked them to hold, and it doesn't go into details. But it does mark that other supplies is over, above 100, and then dues and subscriptions, maybe they're going to more meetings, or the meeting, this happens all the time, the meeting dues increase. So I actually don't have a lot of information about this, but it is so slight and modest, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't do a lot of digging. I'm sure
totally
they'd give
agree.
me the answers.
But
if
do
I
you
had.
understand my point?
Yes.
My point is, if we aren't ever gonna actually reduce something when the money's not being spent, then
What's the
what
point?
are we
I get
even
it.
doing
Yeah.
here, really?
I get it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Do we have
Actually,
any further
you know what? I
discussion?
know that they will be actually spending, because they have to spend in the professional technical for the work that Council Oak
Oh,
had.
perfect.
So that
Okay.
obviously delayed, but
I wasn't gonna
no, that
reduce
will
it
be
anyway,
coming out.
but
Yeah.
I'm raising the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Good work, team. Next on the budget review items for this evening, we have the Zoning Board of Appeals. I have looked at this. I actually didn't really have many questions at all. I had one, so I'm going to give us 3 minutes to discuss this, because I assume there weren't many questions for my colleagues on this. My one question was office supplies. Nope, I'm sorry. My eyes. Travel. What are they doing? Why are they traveling?
So the membership of that board has changed, and the long-term leadership has also changed. So I believe this is these newer members looking to enhance their own abilities there and go to more meetings and travel to these meetings.
Okay, that's valid. Selectman Pacheco.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, I know that when I was chair, Tim Rhines, who was also a member of the ZBA, and myself, we went to training as well as their administrative assistant. I didn't put in for the mileage, but they're entitled to put in for the mileage, so I'm not opposed to this budget here. The salary's been reduced only because when we first went with the budget, don't forget, at the same time, we split the jobs up last year, so the person was at a different step raise, and now the person's getting paid less, so the salary's been reduced. It's not an increase in the budget. I think it's actually a reduction. Am I reading that
No.
correctly?
You're correct.
Oh, yeah,
Department-
full,
department
yes,
total, yes.
total. Yep.
So I have no other comment about that, but I'm in favor of this.
But it's actually not, I don't think it's not actually a decrease. Here's why, and it doesn't matter, but that $250 increase for travel was not calculated in the final total, it doesn't look like.
That's weird.
So it is actually an increase, but literally, public, it's like $240 out of a $51,000 budget. So I think that the zoning board was very mindful of the taxpayer. So I have no issue. It's not. It says,
No, it should be lower by $11.
okay, I might be wrong because I'm looking at the percentage
Yeah,
where
that-
it's
the
not
percentage
calculated.
is different
Okay.
Because it is over zero.
So it
the
is. It's like
formula's having a
it's an
problem,
$11
but, yeah.
decrease. Anyway, they did a great job. And so I have no further questions. Selectman Goulart, did you
No.
have any further
We're going
questions?
to make a motion.
Yep, absolutely.
I move that we approve the zoning board of appeals, Department 176 budget, FY '20, $51,017.52.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
You said there was an increase of $11?
Decrease of
Decrease of
Yes,
11.
I thought you said increase, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next on the agenda, Department 210, the Police Department. I'm going to give us 5 minutes because there might be questions about this. I only get one question in this first round. So, Madam Administrator, I am going to take my question for, choose wisely, because 5450 custodial and housekeeping supplies.
54.50.
Yep.
Yes.
$12,000 proposed increase I'm thinking that's because they're in a facility that's 3 times the size of where they came from,
I said,
correct?
take your figure from last
Okay.
year, multiply it
Oh,
by
I
3.
wasted it on that
and
one.
I know. So
Okay,
you know what?
I'm
Let
sorry.
me present a little bit about this
Sure,
one, and then
yeah.
maybe I've answered you and you can save them. But
Sure.
yes, I said, please take it, multiply it by 3. We are going out to bid for that building. It's new. We don't know. So there's that. The same reason. For those same reasons, the energy is included in this budget still, because it's an HVAC system, it's supposed to be energy efficient, but again, we have no idea what this is gonna cost, so we didn't wanna mess around with that. And then the other thing to notice is the communications line here. When I do my recommendations, this is gonna come down, What Ms. Bork did when she assisted the chief in preparing this budget is added up what the new phone system was going to cost the police department. But the whole beauty of us being on one system was that all the funding was coming out of one line, so we could actually monitor it closely and make sure we knew what we were paying for. So I'm going to request that we take about $4,000 out of that line once I verify bills. Now, we're looking at the Comcast bills, well, Karen is, with a fine-tooth comb, to make sure that everything's matching up with what we actually signed on for when we switched for this. So that's why I'm waiting to reserve that decrease when I come back with a recommendation. But anyway, this will go down, is my point.
Okay. Selectman Pacheco?
Yeah, my question is on 51 and 52. There's an increase of,
Yes.
Oh, taking mine.
well, you wasted yours, 21.5%.
Yeah.
Fiscal year 2018, they asked for 28,000, they spent almost $17,000. This current fiscal year, for half the year anyway, they asked for 28,000, they spent almost $10,000. Now they're asking for an increase of roughly $6,000.
Your union contract
Yeah,
increase.
I have that written right here.
So
Union
the
contract
benefit-
increased the union, uniform allowance.
That
Can-
much?
Well, you have a significant amount of people.
Didn't we hire 3 new police officers?
2 or 3.
Last year,
Yeah.
yes, they came on last year.
Correct.
So you have more people and an increase of $250, I think.
Per person.
Per person.
Yeah.
So how much is it per person now?
How much do they get as a
As
uniform?
a uniform
I wanna
allowance?
say it's 1,500.
Yeah,
I'm
something
thinking
like
around
Is
that.
that right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
1,500.
Can I ask?
Because I think it was $12.50.
And they get to use that for like, I mean, they have to dry clean these, they get to
Yeah,
use
no,
it all for that. So they had a very compelling case for raising it.
But I want to ask I think this is what you were getting at. If it doesn't get used, does that go back into the general fund? Or
Hold
do-
on.
how does that
I've
work?
gotta separate
According
the
to the
contracts.
CBA,
There's
I know.
definitely one contract that you lose it, you use it or lose it.
Okay,
Theirs, I think they get it. There's a provision in their contract where they are allowed to get the check and then
uh-huh,
go spend it, or they can do the reimbursement.
okay, like what they didn't use.
You remember that, Nancy? I'm trying to
Yeah,
like
and,
recall the
I
exact
I can't
wording.
remember if it's fire or.
Fire department, the last contract I remember, they only get what they spend,
Exactly. That's still the case.
okay?
That's still the case.
But I'm
Then it
thinking
must be
police, I'm
correct.
thinking it's police.
Leeway, because they're allowed to use it on dry cleaning and some other things related to it.
I think highway
We
has
have-
some special things too, because they can buy those heavy work boot things.
Right.
We only have 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure everybody gets to speak and ask their questions. So Selectman Goulart,
I
I
don't
wanted
have
to give
anything.
you the floor. I have another question, because I want to get through this. I'm assuming that the increase in line 5155 is the CBA?
Well, that was gonna be my
No
question.
anticipation of potentially 2 retirements,
Okay,
maybe.
yep,
But
okay.
that's what.
And then my last question was 5156. There was an increase in, excuse me, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Nope, I'm sorry, I can barely see. 5157, benefits, educational incentive chief. I assume that this is based on their education and then what's written in the contract,
Correct.
correct? I did not have time to
Absolutely.
check it
That's
before.
right.
Okay, and that was, my last question was 5340, but I think you addressed communication, so I don't have any further questions. Selectman Pacheco?
You've asked all the questions, you said you're gonna have one
Sorry.
question. then
I
you-
was tearing through, we got a minute
Just
left.
so the public knows, it's an increase of this budget of 15.18%, so it's quite a little bit of a jump.
I think a lot of that,
Well, it's 6.27, isn't it? The department
The
total?
department
Yeah,
total.
15 was for the expenses. He's
Yes.
right, though, for the
And
expenses.
A bulk of that, so
They're in a bigger
I
station.
anticipate
get it.
money coming back to the town in this budget because of the energy use, we don't know yet, and the cleaning, custodial. So this one is a little bit difficult this year, so how great.
Like changing the filters also in the air ducts and all that kind of
The
stuff too?
HVAC machine that's there is constantly like sucking the air out. So that requires a specific type of person that can calibrate that. That's an outside vendor. We don't have anybody on staff to do that.
I have no further questions, so at this time, if my colleagues don't have any further questions, I will entertain motions.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the police department budget, Department 210 for FY20 at $1,785,339.71.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. And for folks watching who cringe at a number like that, I want to point out that the police department, we are very thankful to have them and to have dedicated public servants. I also would like to mention that traditionally in the past, they have not expended all of the funds in their budget. So just let's keep that in mind, public, but we do want to make sure they have the tools that they need to keep us all safe, folks. Okay, at this time, let's move on to Communication, Department 215.
Your only increases here are salary related. All the expense lines are level funded.
Okay, so, and my one question was 5119, salary chief stipend. I'm assuming that is pursuant to their
It's
contract.
your contractual
Okay.
obligation.
I thought it was 10,000 in the contract.
No. It went from 6,500 to 7. We only
Yeah,
went up 500.
It's 500. I remember that, yeah. That was your one question. No, just kidding.
No,
Do you have another question?
no, that was, because that was what part of the discussion was about his contract.
Absolutely.
Correct. Sir?
I have no questions. There's an increase of 1.07%, so I'm satisfied with
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the Communications Department's budget, number 215 for fiscal year 2020.
Do you want to second that?
Yeah, I just want to say the number, 383,192.33. Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Before we vote on this, I wanted to ask, I didn't notice this before, 5105, salary operators full-time. Why is that less than 2%? I did not have time to go back and check the CBA.
Nope, it should be 2% on the CBA, but
Is this .89 a typo and it really is 2%?
I hope not.
Because it looks less than 2% to me. And I just want to make sure we have the accurate figure tonight before we
Well,
approve it.
2% on 200,000 is
Should
like
be-
4,000.
That's, yeah. So there appears
51, their full-time
Correct.
salary?
4,466. If there was a,
2%, so you're right, that's.
okay,
off.
so we need to, good thing we asked. So let's
Verify.
erase that.
Rescind.
If it, no, just that one number.
Oh.
No, we didn't even vote yet,
Oh,
so this
okay.
is fine. I'm gonna ask in a moment that my colleague, rescind the second, and then my other colleague rescind the motion, but before we do that, we need to get the numbers. I have a 2% increase, Communications Department, would be $4,466.56, which would bring that line 5105 total to,
Well, before you do that, we
Yep.
need to verify the salaries because there's 52 weeks and a Monday and a Tuesday.
so it might be more.
So it might be more.
Okay.
But if you vote to approve to make sure that the contract's being followed or something more eloquent than that,
Yeah?
we can verify that when the town accountant returns, which she probably already has.
Well,
Okay.
we're meeting next week, so why can't we just hold on this one until next week? Is everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Just to make sure we don't have to
Yes.
do it again, that's all.
I'll make a motion that we continue this budget discussion on Communication Department. Actually, we have to rescind the previous
No,
Motion
I
fails.
withdrew the second, you just withdraw the motion, that
Okay.
ends that.
Okay, I'm withdrawing the previous motion,
Mhm.
and I'm making a motion that we continue the communication department budget 215 to March 20th,
Second,
next Board of Selectmen's meeting.
okay.
Thank you, team. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Good catch.
It wasn't mine, it was yours, so good catch to you.
But we figured it out
Yeah.
together.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, team, we have Department 541, Council on Aging.
We have a similar issue. I reviewed these and the salaries are not, I don't know what they're supposed to be, but they're not correct. When I asked the questions, I couldn't deduce what I needed to deduce, so I'm requesting that we hold these until the next meeting.
So I have no issue doing that, and I was gonna suggest the same, and the reason for my suggestion was all the reasons you mentioned, plus the fact that I'm actually not entirely sure that this has been approved by the Council on Aging. So that, I think that's a big
Right.
thing that we just need to verify.
Yes.
And if we're already having a meeting next week, and we're also meeting the week after that, then I think that we have more than enough time to get the answers that we need, so that we're not having to revisit this
Yes.
at a future date.
So we think we'll have this answer by next week or the week after?
I'm supposed to have it by next week. I've spoken with the Council on Aging Director. She's expecting to come here next meeting. I aired these same concerns, and we'll get it done.
Okay?
That's that.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we continue the budget for Council on Aging, Department 541, till March 20th.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Madam Administrator, Department 542 prime time. Now, I know this
Same.
isn't Council on Aging, but are we still wanting to verify
Yes,
salaries
it's,
and
they're
things like
both
that?
intertwined and related, and they're both incorrect, so the same rule applies here.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table action on Department 542 prime time until the meeting on March 20th.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. We have already done, as I understand,
Yes.
6:30, so we can skip
Yep.
Parks and Recreation. We have already approved that. And we can move to Town Historian. I am going to give us 1 minute to discuss this, not because I want to stifle discussion, but simply because I don't think we're going to have much discussion. This is a level-funded budget. These funds do appear to get used, and I'm okay with that. I know that the town historian does a lot of like printing of their own, so I'm okay with that. But I will open this up to my colleagues.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Now
Mr.
let's
Chairman,
take
I
motions.
move that we approve the Department 690 Town Historian budget in the amount of $250.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. We are moving on to 691, which is the Historical Commission's budget. And I didn't particularly have many questions. I had a broad question. We are lucky enough to have a Historical Commission member in our presence. Historical, excuse me.
Wait, hysterical, you said,
That's
right?
historical.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hard of hearing, I'm blind tonight.
That train.
So, literally. So, what I wanted to ask is, and it's not a concern, but why can't they use more of the money that they request? And B, if they're not gonna use it, are there areas that we could potentially reduce? Now, mind you, I say that having met with a member or two of that commission, and I kind of have some ideas on different things we can do to get us to qualify for grants. I'm not sure if that will cost money, but can you maybe shed some light on the thoughts of the commission
I could just-
with their
I
budget?
could just tell you that we met last night, and we did discuss spending some of the funds that we've been appropriated by the taxpayer, so we're considering that. We got several options out there. Well, we're asking for level funding. Obviously, I can't vote on this budget. I would ask that the board approve this budget, but we do plan on spending it. Obviously, we're gonna be cautious with the money,
Of course.
but we are planning to.
Okay, I
And
like
that was
that.
one of the discussions that we had last night, of many discussions.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Department 691 Historical Commission budget at $1,500.
That's less than the Trails Committee. Okay. I have no issue with this, Selectman Pacheco. So I will step down and second that motion. Discussion.
Is there going to be any expense this year for, when we talked about the display cases, is this commission going to have something over there that you're going to spend money on?
That's one of the items that we
Okay,
discussed.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because one of the things, we're gonna be given some items from the Nat Crane House, not big items, but we're thinking of displaying it over there in the old town hall, and obviously we need a display cabinet.
Okay.
Very nice.
That is nice.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
The ayes have it, and that motion passes. And thank you for shedding some insight, sir. Next, regulations and inspections, a vote to include the animal inspector. Madam Administrator?
This is on here erroneously, and I
Uh-huh.
apologize.
Okay, so we are going to pretend this isn't on here.
Sorry.
Moving
Moving right
along.
along.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going
Sure.
to make a motion that we table action on agenda items 6L.
L?
I mean, it's not even to table. It's
We already did
it's
it.
like it's
We
a
take no action.
regurgitation of act on an animal inspector salary, which you've
Okay.
already.
Okay,
It's
then
on here and there. We just
I'll change the motion that we take no action on agenda item 6L.
thank you.
I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And the ayes have it, and that motion passes. 7A, rescind vote on payment authorization for the Board of Selectmen's account, 2 minutes.
At a previous meeting, I can't remember if it was the last one, and I apologize, you graciously voted that I could sign off on a handful of budgets. The town accountant said that certain ones could not happen, that's fine. The one I really care about anyway is public, data processing,
yeah.
thank you. So she said that's fine.
Okay.
So I need you to rescind the vote, or the portion of the vote that provides me authorization on Board of Selectmen budgets and anything not to do with data processing. Let's do
Okay.
that.
I will entertain
Can I
motions.
so move?
Great.
Second.
Thank you very
We
much.
have a
I
motion
apologize.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And the ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next on the agenda this evening is to ratify a memorandum of understanding with the firefighters union, which is Local 4332. Madam
This
Administrator?
is just the institution or reinstitution of the leadership positions, the officers' positions in the fire department.
In which we had already voted in an executive session, so proper procedure is we come here at an open meeting, and we vote to ratify it. We have discussed this, so I'm assuming there's not much discussion, so at this time I will entertain any motions.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we ratify the memorandum of understanding with the firefighters union. So what is the time period? Oh, July 1st, 2000, is it 19 and 20, or is it this year?
Current, it's current year. It's to amend the current contract. that
Is it
Quincy-
retroactive to July 19?
No, because he has to do a lot of things before, he has to post all of the positions. So he just, once you vote, then he goes into action of posting what he needs to
There's
post.
no retroactive.
Right, correct.
Okay, so, the motion is to, let's see, approve the MOA firefighters association as presented.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next on the agenda under old business is the computer use policy second reading. It is in the packet, it has been posted online. We will vote on this next week. So if you have any final thoughts, concerns, suggestions, please submit them between now and, Thursday or Monday, when we have to prepare the agenda for the next meeting. Okay. Next on the agenda is new business, and we are going to review and sign the warrant for the annual town election on April 6, 2019, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Dayton Elementary School. Do I have to read this?
Oh, you do have to read it, even though the ballot's posted?
Okay. Town of Dayton, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Bristol, SS, to either of the constables of the town of Dayton, County of Bristol, greeting. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify the inhabitants of the town of Dayton qualified to vote in elections to meet at the Dayton Elementary School for both precincts 1 and 2 on Saturday, the 6th of April 2019 at 7 a.m., then and there to elect by ballot the following officers. Selectmen for 3 years. Town moderator for 1 year. Town clerk for 3 years. Town treasurer for 3 years. Town collector for 3 years. Assessor for 3 years. Dayton Rehoboth Regional School District Committee member for 3 years. Dayton Rehoboth Regional School District Committee member for 2 years, and that's to fill a vacancy. Planning Board member for 5 years. Public Library trustee for 3 years. Parks and Recreation Commissioner for 3 years. Sewer Commissioner for 3 years. For this purpose, the polls will be opened at 7 a.m. and shall close at 5 p.m. And you are directed to serve this warrant by posting attested copies thereof at each of the post offices, at the town hall, and at the main fire station, all in said Dayton, 7 days at least before the time of said meeting. Hereof fail not, and make due return of this warrant with your doing thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of said meeting. Given under our hands this 13th day of March in the year 2019, it will be signed by the Board of Selectmen, if we agree, and attested by the town clerk, posted as directed by the constable, and they will indicate the date they post it. So I will accept motions, entertain motions, to approve and sign the warrant for the annual town election as prepared.
So moved.
Thank you.
I second it.
Where's the word viz? Don't they always put the word viz in here?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I don't see it this time.
Tom Pye is always used to question that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Give me 1 second, public. I do want to give Selectman Goulart the opportunity to sign this while we're all here, and we are going to move right along. Thank you. Mrs. Brady, thank you so much.
And everybody come out to vote, because we do have
Contested,
school committee contested. We have 3 candidates for 2 positions.
Yep. I actually heard that we have 4 candidates for 2 positions.
You think there'll be a write-in?
I believe for the 3-year school committee, that's what I heard, yeah.
A write-in?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who knows? I mean, it's hearsay, but that is what I've heard. So yes, get out, vote, let's do our civic duty. Next on the agenda is to ratify the clerical union grievance resolution. This was related to, and folks, this is in the packet. We are not, these are things that we want you to see. They are there. This information is public. It was stemming to a grievance back in August of 2018 related to essentially how sick leave and vacation leave were being calculated. We did arrive at a resolution. Do you want to elaborate at all? I was just going to leave it at that, and if someone wants to seek the information out, it is in the packet, it is on the website, and it was emailed yesterday.
And I believe you said it all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So I am going to entertain motions pursuant to this grievance resolution. I'm not, I looked at you, but you know what I mean. No, I know. I understand.
Oh.
That's why I was apologizing for looking at it. I didn't want him to
You
think
do
I was
always look for the
pressuring
right.
you.
Do you have the original here?
Just this copy.
We
That's
have
what
the
I have.
original.
He's not gonna
He
motion or
did not
second.
vote for
Yeah,
it, so he didn't sign.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, because I didn't want
And
him.
then I was joking with him because I looked at him when I said I was
Oh,
entertaining motion.
I didn't want to leave him out, that's why I asked that. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the grievance decision with Local 272 of the Clerical Union that is effective July 1st, 2019, as submitted.
I will step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm gonna abstain.
The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Sorry about that again.
That's all right.
Chico. Okay.
I'm getting used to it.
It's a rough meeting for you.
He's like, can you look to the left?
It's supposed to be over 10 minutes ago.
I know. Okay, moving along to 8C, vote on the warrant, special town meeting warrant articles. So,
I
we
have
do
an
have to
idea.
read this. Is it okay if I do it? I feel like I'm
Sure.
a fast reader.
I
Okay.
don't need to.
Town of Dayton, we make you read all the policies.
That's okay.
so. Town of Dayton Special Town Meeting warrant, March 28th, 2019. Before I read this, I just want to let the public know, so there is no confusion. We mail out the annual town meeting warrant every time we have that annual town meeting in June. We do not mail out the special town meeting warrants. This will be posted online. This will be sent out via email. Everyone who wants to access this document will have the opportunity to, so I want to make that clear. Bristol SS to either the constables of the town of Dayton and the county of Bristol. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Dayton qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet in the Dayton Middle School Auditorium on Thursday, the 28th day of March 2019 at 7 p.m., then and there to act on the following articles. Article 1. To hear reports of the town officials and act thereon. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds $2,145.99 to pay prior year bills as follows. Dayton surplus sales, Board of Selectmen, $11.99 R&A, raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds. Terminal exchange, Board of Selectmen, $360, raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds. For FJ Torres, Board of Selectmen, $1,774, raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $5,000 to replenish account number 010-2-433-0000-17-5300, household hazardous waste collection. That is to have a household hazardous waste collection day. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to approve the Conservation Commission to enter into a land management and farming lease agreement, a copy of which has been attached hereto, for the property at 0 Council Oak Way for a period not to exceed 10 years, or to take any other action relative thereto. Article 5, to amend the town bylaws. Article 36, Department, I did that really quick. No one even appreciated that, how quick I did those Roman numerals in my head.
Yes, I did.
Departmental revolving funds, Section 5, authorized revolving funds by amending the table to include a revolving account for the purposes of accepting funds from the land management agreement for 0 Council Oak Way, from which funds would be expended by the Conservation Commission as follows.
Just pointing that it's the last one on this table.
Okay, thank you, because I was getting overwhelmed with this. Okay. Revolving fund, Council Oak Land Management. Department, Conservation Commission. Fees, charges, or other receipts credited to the fund. Payments from farming agreements. Program, right to farm community folks. Program or activity expenses payable from funds. Management and maintenance of conservation properties. Restrictions or conditions on expenses payable from fund, nothing. Other requirements / reports, nothing. Fiscal years, fiscal year 2019 and subsequent years. And I did want to thank everybody who was pivotal in that. We have said it many times, so thank you all very much. Looking to my left and my right here. Article 6, to see if the town will vote pursuant to MGL Chapter 44, section 53E and a half, to establish the limit on the total amount that may be expended during fiscal year 2019 from the Council Oak Land Management Revolving Fund adopted under Article 5 of the warrant as follows. Fund, Council Oak Land Management, fiscal year 2019 spending limit, $450. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to transfer from PEG access and cable-related funds to be expended by the Cable Television Committee the sum of $20,000 to fund legal services for negotiation of the cable contract. We are renewing our contract and in discussions to renew our contract, I should say, with Comcast. That's what those funds would be for, to pay for legal services for that. Madam Administrator.
May I request that we change the wording there to say of the cable license agreement?
Of the
because
cable,
that's what it's
instead of
called.
contract.
Right.
Yep, I have no issue with that.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. This is the time.
While we're making amending,
Sure.
this is probably cut and paste from previous years.
Mhm.
We cannot raise and appropriate anything, so on Article 2,
Mhm.
just RNA and/or, it needs to be crossed out on those three items.
Okay.
Because it's only transfer from available funds at this
Okay.
point. I'm sorry about that.
No.
While we're looking at amendments, the preliminary motions are missing.
To hear the report.
Those come on a separate, oh, no, she's right.
No,
You're right.
remember?
Yeah,
You told
they
me.
weren't, no. And then remember, I didn't know how to start the meeting because it wasn't there.
There's the one
She's
that
actually
you
right on
have
this.
to,
Yeah, the
She's
housekeeping.
right.
But
Okay.
this
I
was the
thought
ones
they
I
were on
gave
the
you.
motions document and not the
What?
warrant.
No, they're the beginning of the warrant,
They're
because
part of the
last year we
warrant.
sat there while the moderator was saying, are there
Correct.
preliminary motions?
Because they weren't
They
on
were
the motion
omitted.
thing and they weren't on
Right.
the warrant.
One of them is to refer to the, not to read the articles,
She-
but to
she-
refer
She
by
can go back
number
and.
and
I thought
content.
that-
Yeah.
I just thought they went on the motions.
No,
and then-
no,
So you're gonna add them in, Mrs. Brady?
they've gotta be on the warrant,
Yeah.
yeah. The other
You're-
one is
she's gonna-
adjournment time, and there's a third one, I think, but you can look
Yeah,
at those.
she has them. So you're gonna go back, you're gonna add them in and then we're gonna change the article numbering?
To make
Okay.
sense with what's going
Yeah,
on, yes.
yeah.
Karen, the annual town meeting was correct, it was the special in the
Yeah.
fall that left them off.
Correct. That was funny. A little embarrassing, but funny. Okay, Article 8, to see if the town will vote to transfer from Article 10 of Special Town Meeting of October 15th, 2018, a sum of $5,600 to budget for, line 422, Highway Construction and Maintenance, to fund the remaining fiscal year 2019
Would you like an
expenses.
explanation of this? So part of the reason why Mr. Ferry's budget 422 is overspent is due to some variables that happened, one of which was the roof was leaking. So some of those repairs came out of, all of those repairs came out of his operating budget. This article referenced in this, Article 10 is the roof repair article. It came in under budget, so this is requesting that the money from that article be transferred into the the 422 budget for this fiscal year, because it's related to repairs.
Okay.
The repairs were over 6,000.
It is
so-
10:15. I think we can be done in the next 15 minutes because we're almost done here and I know we can do this, team. So let's continue with this. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from available fund. Are we gonna vote on this tonight? Because we have some changes to make. So are we not allowed to wait? Like, what are we doing?
No, you vote, you'd make your amendments, you vote at, to post based upon your amendments.
Okay, just making sure. To see, Article 9, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from available funds a sum of $60,102 in anticipation of reimbursement to meet the town's share of the cost of work for state aid construction and maintenance for fiscal year 2019 for the purpose of expending funds for capital improvements of local roads under the Transportation Bond Issue, Chapter 90. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds a sum not to exceed $150,000 to purchase the property at 949 Somerset Avenue. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds a sum not to exceed $60,000 to repair the roof on the property at 949 Somerset Avenue and to remediate interior damages or take any other action relative thereto. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $35,000 for the purchase of land on Brook Street, listed as map 13, lot 92, and as further described in book 8237, page 255 in the Bristol County / North Registry of Deeds. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 110A, which states, quote, "Any public office in any city or town may remain closed on any or all Saturdays as may be determined from time to time in a city by the city council, subject to the provisions of the city charter, or in a town by the vote of the town at a special or regular town meeting, and the provisions of Section 9 of Chapter 4 shall apply in such a case of such closing of any such office on any Saturday to the same extent as if such Saturday were a legal holiday." No idea how that got on here, but
What is the
I
purpose?
have no idea
This
what
is
the
how
purpose of that
we've been
was.
operating. The town clerk asked us to accept this. I have experience with this in West Bridgewater. Our biggest concern was what happens when people have to work on a Saturday for, emergencies or whatever, and does that impact holiday pay versus overtime? And the answer we explored in West Bridgewater was no, it doesn't. But
I'm
she requested-
so confused, okay? Our employees don't even work on Friday. Why are we worried
because
about Saturday?
because it's about posting requirements, counting Saturdays for like different days. It's
And sometimes if there has to be a special election,
Right.
sometimes the
It's
Secretary of State orders you to
Okay,
be
that
open.
makes sense
So
to me.
it's-
Someone has to work on a Saturday. That makes
the
sense.
town
to me.
clerk tells me
It's
register
not like
people.
town hall, okay. I
Town clerk tells me that we have been operating as if we have accepted this all along, but never in fact accepted it.
Okay.
This is a
So-
formality.
Okay, so we've been operating,
With
we
this.
never formally, then that makes sense, and I totally understand that. Town clerk, I apologize. Forgive my ignorance. Okay, Article 14, the language didn't make sense to me. I'm like, this is,
Well, I mean, that's
A lot of
state
words.
law. for
No, I
you,
know.
yeah, that's-
And this goes along with our posting
yes.
requirements, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Article 14, to act upon any other business that lawfully may be introduced at said meeting, and you are directed to serve this warrant by posting attested copies thereof at each of the post offices at the town hall and at the main fire station, all in said Dayton, 14 days at least before the time of holding said meeting. Hereof fail not and make due return of this warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of meeting as aforesaid. And I didn't get that wrong, but I got the easy sentence before it wrong. Given under our hands this 13th day of March in the year of our Lord, the 2019, signed by the Board of Selectmen, a true copy attested by the town clerk, and it will be posted as directed by the constable on whatever date they do that.
Tomorrow, right?
I'm sorry?
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Tomorrow.
So, at this,
I
thank you.
move that we approve the warrant for the special town meeting, March 28th, as amended.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We add the word "biz" wherever it goes. It's a legal thing,
For the hell of it.
not for the business.
Article 10,
Yes.
Do we
You know
have
how
a
much you want me to
copy?
disclose
Okay,
on
no,
this?
that's all right.
Okay.
Do we have that last page we can sign? Because I know the numbering will change.
Yeah.
By the way, whoever did it to always have that third page be a loose page, genius. No, it really is, because you tend to think that things might change, and then so you don't have to go back and redo everything. So I appreciate that. Very smart. Okay, do you want to sign it?
Did we vote on this yet?
We get a motion and a second. You
All those in
seconded it.
favor?
Yes,
You
I-
did.
Yeah,
I didn't think
so
it
we
was
need
I didn't think we
to
voted
call
on it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't have any correspondence, so moving right along to announcements, we have the curbside textile recycling program beginning on April 1st. Cool. We have the annual town no, I meant that seriously. I think we have something posted. I'm gonna try to get that online for folks. The annual town election, April 6, 2019, Dayton Elementary School, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sir?
Yes, the Dayton Historical Society, the Berkeley Historical Society, and the Freetown Historical Society are hosting a presentation, Welcome to the Graveyard, presented by the Gravestone Girls on Sunday, April 7, 2019, at the Old Town Hall, which is located at 1111 Somerset Avenue. It says from 1 to 3, it's actually 2 to 4.
Thank you, Selectman Pacheco. The annual, 2 to 4, okay.
Yep.
It is not, if you're looking at the packet, 1 to 3, it is 2 to 4. The annual Easter egg hunt, sponsored by the Parks and Recreation Commission, will be held on April 6th, starting at 12 noon behind Town Hall. There is a, rain date of April 13th, 2019, at Town Hall, behind Town Hall at 12 noon, just in case. Dayton 101 will be held on April 25th at the Old Town Hall. And I believe that's something the library is doing, correct?
Yes.
She is, yep.
Okay, just making, someone had asked, and I just wanted to make sure. There will be an open house at the Dayton Police Station on March 23rd, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And in the words of our town administrator, come check out your new building.
But this is not the official dedication, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm definitely gonna go, because I have not had time to see the completed structure, so I'm really excited. Hoping Sergeant Cronin will be amenable to giving me another tour. So I do appreciate that. Public, come out and see your building. And then we will get more information on Kite Day, and then we'll include that in our announcements going forward. Okay, under Selectmen's reports, if you don't mind, Selectman Goulart, I just wanted to say very quickly, and I'm not gonna say too much. We did have our site visit for the animal shelter. We had that visit, it was our town administrator, chairman of the Board of Selectmen, chairman of the Board of Health, and our animal control officer. It was a very nice meeting, it was a productive meeting. Nothing has been finalized. I believe they have another meeting or just had another meeting to discuss what the plan will be for the new animal shelter. So I really don't have much to say other than we are actively working on it. The town administrator and the animal control officer devised a scope of work, probably along with the building commissioner as well. I have signed the scope of work. That is to identify what we think we're gonna do and why we need the money, basically. And what we plan to do with it. So when we have a finalized plan, I will obviously, we will present it to the board. But I want to give the relevant parties their time to have further meetings to finalize everything.
And
Sure,
that's
Madam
slated to come
Administrator.
before you next meeting.
Cool.
So, we have a good plan.
Awesome. Selectman Goulart?
Okay, Bristol County Advisory Committee meeting on February 28th, we did have a quorum, and the purpose was to, yes, thank goodness. The purpose of that meeting was to approve an increase in the FY19 budget of $200,000. And the $200,000 are needed for repairs to the copper roof on the Superior Court, and $200,000 will allow them to repair just 2 sections, and they're going to try to do 2 sections each year if they can come up with the money. So it's going to be spread out, and at any given time, you're gonna see the old green copper and you're gonna see new copper. So they're doing a lot of work, because that courtroom, that courthouse needs a lot of work.
Do you know if they're gonna put the torch or the pineapple that used to be on top of Superior Court back on?
I don't think they know if
Where it is.
it's going to, I guess the concern was it was tilted and the ability of the dome to actually hold it. So there is so much scaffolding and stuff in there, it's hard to tell what is happening inside. But this 200,000 is just for outside.
After this meeting, can you please explain to me why some people think it's a pineapple and others think it's a torch? And we don't need to have this discussion.
Pineapple is
I am
welcome
curious.
for, well, you're right, we don't need to do that.
Selectman
I
Goulart.
didn't think it was either one, I thought it was something else, but I'm
Oh,
not sure
Lord,
now
we
what
have
it
3
was. I thought it had
options.
something to do with justice, some kind of a
Well,
symbol
if it's
thing.
So it's not an
pineapple,
edible
that just
fruit?
means like welcome, and a lot of
I
the
don't know.
captains, you know, ship captains
I took
had
pictures of it when they were taking it down, so I'll take another
Yeah,
look
thank
at
you.
it.
What it
and
is.
I'll,
You'll
was
do
a
the
pineapple?
analysis for us?
that. It's our historical expert, I love it.
And then today's Mass Municipal Association meeting, they reminded us that there's a recycling conference coming up on March the 25th in Framingham. The state is working on the solid waste master plan for the next 10 years, 2020 to 2030. They'll be asking for municipal feedback. Speaker DeLeo has a $1 billion initiative for environmental and climate change, and an announcement will be made about grant money for this. The EPA is looking into the chemicals that are turning up in drinking water, and these are chemicals that seem to be everywhere. And the problem with them, they call them PFOS, and this turns up when foam is used for firefighting. So there are 5 communities that have a concentration of this, and these are communities near military bases or former bases. However, they're saying it's everywhere, and it's even in products. So I don't know how they're gonna deal with it, but evidently it's mobile, because they said it's not like PCBs that if you put it in a place, it stays there, but this stuff seems to move. And then the last presentation dealt with the legislation that's being filed for dark skies, and there are green community grants that will be available, and they're looking for communities interested in, if the legislation passed, it will require new lighting/replacement for streetlights across the state. But you don't have to take down what you've got. But as you replace them, the bulbs,
Yeah.
they want you to have, with CCTS of 3,000 Kevlars or less. So that was the meeting. I have one other announcement. I was supposed to announce this. I signed some warrants this week. I left off one last time. It was $325 invoice for arbitration. I signed $2,816.30, which were basically utilities and services. Gay and Gay, $586.63. Taurus Insurance, $2,330. Utilities, engineering, hardware, supplies, professional services, $15,396.79, and $1,015 for blinds. You may have signed those also, but at the time I signed them, I made the note just in case I wouldn't forget to tell you this.
Would you like bills to be added here on the agenda, or it's okay doing it how
No,
we're
it
doing
hasn't.
Okay, all right.
Usually we see them all, but she's,
Yeah.
I think she's
No,
telling
and I
us
know
'cause we
she,
may not have seen them, but she
exactly,
signed them
and so
to
I
make
support
sure.
that, but I
Yeah.
didn't know if you wanted to change anything. I'm happy doing
mind
it this
doing
way.
this?
No,
yeah.
but on the desk tonight, I signed one, so if somebody just signs that top one, as long as there's 2 signatures, I don't have
It's
to do
valid.
this.
Right,
Yeah.
no, I
Yep.
understand, if you want to change, just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, moving on to acknowledge, did you have something? I'm sorry, sir.
You always turn to me,
I
and this
know,
time you didn't turn to me.
this time, no, I didn't.
So, as you know, on March 5th, you and I, as well as Town Administrator Mallory Aristine, as well as Jocelyn Tavares, our Library Director, went to the legislative breakfast in Boston, in Beacon Hill, to meet with our state representative, Patricia had that. I think we had a very productive meeting with her, and we also met with Senator Mark Pacheco's aide, and I think that also was productive. So hopefully, they've listened to us, and we'll be moving, going forward with the library.
Absolutely. The
Also-
new library.
The
not
new library,
renovation.
yes, the new library. So,
Yep.
we've discussed,
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt your report, but we should talk about, Rep. Haddad had a fantastic idea that I really hope she goes through with, crafting legislation for this, for like a municipal buildings fund. So we have the MSBA and the MBLC dedicated for schools and libraries respectively, but that leaves out fire stations, police stations, highway garages, all of these high-cost items, that's just on us. So we talked about a municipal building fund, and how great that would be. So hopefully that gets out there with more support, and that could be a reality in the next few years, and I'm so sorry to interrupt.
I was gonna get to that, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stealing the
I
thunder.
was not.
I'm just so excited about that, because that means a lot to
I-
us.
Yes, and I was impressed with that also. And also, on last Wednesday, thanks to our ADA coordinator, Jonathan Gale, Mallory, myself, and Jonathan Gale met with 2 people from the Office of Disabilities, Jeff Dugan and Jakira Roger. And we had a discussion about applying for a grant. We're gonna, I believe the town's gonna apply for a grant. It has to be in, beginning of next,
August
August to,
I don't know the due date, but I'm ready to apply on August 1st.
and he gave us some ideas as to how to apply for it. But we're gonna be applying for a grant to hire a company or someone to assess our buildings in town as to whether or not they're ADA compliant. In addition to meeting with Mallory, we also did a tour of this building here with these two people from the Office of Disability, and we went over different problems that we may have in this building here. So one of the things is, what do we do if somebody comes in this room, for example, in a wheelchair?
Okay.
So
We
I would
greet
ask-
them.
We greet them?
Correct.
Yes. But in addition to that, Mr. Chairman, we need to have someone else, and I'm willing to take responsibility if it's a selectmen's meeting. We have to remove 4 chairs. We're gonna remove them over there. They have access to counter, the front of this desk is the right height, so they can't utilize the podium over there. They can come forward over here. And we have to just be conscious of that. But we have different problems with the building here. So one of the wishes, 6 wishes for the next 5 years, one of them is to make all the buildings ADA compliant. It's gonna be baby steps. It's gonna cost a little bit of money, but it's gonna be baby steps, and I believe we're gonna start doing some of the stuff, and I think it would be effective if we begin doing some stuff for the purpose of the grant. So in other words, if we change the doorknobs to the, what they call them?
ADA compliant doorknobs.
Doorknobs.
Their handles.
These can be retrofit, so
Yes.
he said they don't necessarily have to be taken out, they can retrofit. But these other things, we had some problems with the bathrooms, the counter in the tax assessor's office. We have to, in relation to what you're responsible for as far as setting up the building and changes, we have to decide where we're gonna put an elevator, because we shouldn't have people have to walk outside to go downstairs, in a wheelchair to go downstairs. So we're thinking of putting in a lift or an elevator. So the front of the building may actually be the back of the building, similar to what's going on over next door. That people, I'm told that if we put a lift or an elevator in the back, we do not have to correct the ramp in the front. The ramp in the front, a good part of it is okay. They put the level on it. The first part is okay, and then where it's supposed to be level, it can't be more than 30 feet. We're off a little bit. But the next area is 35 feet. It's supposed to be 30 feet. It's expensive to repair that, so.
It's cheaper to do the other.
The elevator, and we can apply for grants as far as the elevator goes. So once.
And that's the whole reason for that plan. So it just puts us in a pipeline. And they were wonderful about other funding opportunities, so,
Well, they sound really helpful.
yeah, they are.
So what I would suggest to my colleagues, so first of all, we will work on together. I know we each have our
Yes.
projects, but it sounds like there's gonna be a point where the town hall, reallocation of space will meet with the ADA compliance. So
Yes.
we'll have to work on that together, and I look forward to that. What I will also say is, it sounds like we might need to we're gonna get working earlier than probably what I thought when we had our budget discussion about this 2 weeks ago. So I would hope that you would bring, or Mr. Gale, we can get that discussion going before, as part of our budget, okay? Especially if we're going to be applying for a grant for ADA
So
funds.
that's the
in
planning grant, and
2019.
it's August 1st. So he gave us a rough idea of what that is, and we believe that we are a good candidate based upon his feedback. So but I know what you're saying about
My
fixing
issue
these
is,
things.
we're going to be asking Mr. Gale, or expecting, or whatever verb you want to use, to help us in that respect. So I have no issue with
Oh, I'm that budget.
rediscussing that budget, because it sounds like we're gonna need to get moving earlier than maybe what I had thought.
And
we were
we're
gonna do.
doing that on the 27th, when he's
Perfect.
He's
available
gonna be
that day.
here.
He's coming back.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So,
so,
again,
okay.
I want to just thank Jonathan Gale, our
Absolutely.
ADA coordinator, for organizing that meeting and being proactive in this area here, so.
I wanted to say, if you don't mind, just one thing about the library legislative day. So it was definitely nice to have discussions with our state delegation on something as important as a new library. I wanted to specifically highlight how proud I am of my 2 colleagues, Madam Administrator and also Selectman Pacheco, because it was friendly and it was diplomatic, but it was rewarding for me to see the town of Dayton advocate not just for Dayton, but for other rural communities who have felt the pressure where we have a lot of 40Bs being built, and we're proud of that, right? We like people moving, and we like diversity. We like having new ideas and new faces in our town. But what happens with that is, sometimes when that growth happens quick and a town is just not equipped to plan for something like that, we have a bunch of things that we have to consider in terms of expanding services, and we may not necessarily be getting more money from the state to help us with those issues. And so it was rewarding, and it was really, it made me very optimistic to see my colleagues start to have those difficult questions with our state delegation, and they seem to be very receptive. Representative Haddad was very receptive and understood what we were saying. And so it's tough to have those conversations because I know Rep Haddad, politically, but also in my personal life as well. But I'm glad that we are advocating not just for Dayton, but for other rural communities. And so that was really uplifting for me, and I appreciate it. It was very nice to do that. Okay.
Fun fact about population, I had to look up these figures today for another project. We have grown by 700 people, which is a conservative estimate, in the last 4 years, which is an astounding rate. So what you're saying is incredibly relevant.
And just so the public is aware, so this conversation was in the context of we are 14th or 15th or 17th on a list of 19 communities who need a new library, right? Need a new library. This isn't a thing where we woke up one day and said, wouldn't it be nice to have a brand new library? Like, we need this. And our concerns to our state delegation was, we shouldn't be 17th on a list if we are taking on new people and helping, our urban areas who, people are a lot of times living literally on top of one another. We can't be 17th on a list and still have all the state funding continue to go for our populous urban areas. If we're going to help the urban areas by taking on some of their transients who move here for, good public services, then there needs to be a give and take. And so she seemed to be very receptive of that. And understanding, which is great. Transients was not the right word. Yeah. My brain has stopped working.
Is the municipal building fund something that it's a state fund that would help pay for?
In theory. So she said she didn't want to write the legislation. I'm ready to write it. I'm ready to sit down and write it. That would be life-changing for the whole state. But yeah, you basically we need to write the legislation. Not we, but somebody, and if it's us, I'm okay with that. And I know she would support it. Of course. And I think she would be able to get a lot of people, and we would be able to get a lot of communities to support it.
So it's some kind of assistance, like, for example, if you're gonna build a school, you get something.
So right now, MSBA gets a penny off of the sales tax. It just funnels right into that account. So there was talk about doing that. There's talk about having it be betterment type. This is what I was more comfortable with, is the town of Dayton says, hey, we need a new fire station. We apply for these funds, the state gives us the funds, and then we pay it back, low interest, zero interest, something like that. And then another community takes that money and they can build their building,
it's kind of like
and
the
then come
Title
back.
V revolving account that,
Exactly,
on a
so
bigger
something
scale.
like that, the sewer revolving fund at the state level, or some funding mechanism like that. But
Okay.
that's what was just discussed. It doesn't exist yet, just so everyone knows. This is not real. It will be, though, once we write our legislation.
Okay, we don't have, thank you, everyone. We don't have any acknowledgements minutes.
I'm going to make a motion that we accept for review the minutes of February 27, 2019.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Approval of the minutes.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the minutes of January 23rd, 2019, February 13, 2019, and February 20th, 2019.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, discussion, excuse me. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes.
I move that we accept the minutes of the regular meeting, December 6, 2017, December 13, 2017, and January 31st, 2018.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And the ayes have, oh, I'm sorry.
I understand I wasn't a
You
member of the
weren't
board.
there, yeah. The ayes have it and that motion passes. Approval of the warrants, Selectman Goulart.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. Those dated March 6, 36A-19 in the amount of $100,366.59 payroll, and warrant 36B-19 in the amount of $90,149.42, and warrants dated 3/13/19, numbers 37A-19 in the amount of $95,829.58 payroll, and 37B-19 in the amount of $174,671.42 accounts payable be approved.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. We have no further public input. We are not, as I understand, going to be entering into executive session. We may be doing that next week for the same purpose, but we will not be doing it this evening, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Thank you so much, Cable. Have a
night,
good
Cable.
evening.
See you next spring.